Okay, for real this time. Technical difficulties on numero uno. But, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back after a long hiatus for us to the GhostComms podcast. We both been living a lot of life. I think we both have
Going through
grown
it.
and changed in some important ways.
Yeah.
And we just kind of wanted to hop on, get back on it. And honestly, like for me, I wanted to get back on because I knew that this would be uh, a bit of a healing thing, I guess, for me. Like this is like podcasting is my favorite medium by far, and it's my favorite content to make.
Oh, 1,000%.
Um, just sitting in front of a mic and rambling on about whatever it is with whoever
For sure.
is just. I mean, I think it because it's the closest to the conversations that I like to have. You know, I mean, one of my favorite pastimes is just talking to people in those like deep ways. You know, I'm that guy at a party that like gets a beer in and like wants to talk about the meaning of life or what have you. You know, so I wanted to just hop back on and kind of get back to the thing that I know that I love and kind of use that to springboard myself into what I want to get into. So the last time that we recorded, you were in Japan. So that
Yeah.
was one
So
big thing. That was a post graduation, right? That was your
for me, that
graduating gift or
was
what have you?
it wasn't okay. So the reason for me going to Japan was actually because my cousin was having a wedding in
Mm,
Japan, destination wedding. He had planned it, of course, like a year ago, but he's
yeah.
always wanted to do his wedding in Japan, no matter who he married.
Mm,
Um, I think yeah. So I was gone in Japan a week after I had entered university.
mm,
Um, and genuinely, I will recommend this trip to anybody. Go to Japan. You don't even need to be there for a long time. You can go for as long as I went, which wasn't even long, like 11 days, not even
mm.
like 9 days. And you could go for 9 days. You won't get a lot done. Like you really, realistically, you only get like 10%, 20% of Japan done, but you'll
Yeah.
still enjoy that 20%
Were you
because I'll tell you what.
bouncing city to city or were
Oh
you
my God,
like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay. So you
So
were all over. You weren't just like
all
in
over,
the
bro.
same place. Okay,
So
okay.
yeah, so we started in Tokyo for 3 days.
Yeah.
We started in Tokyo for three
Very cool.
days. Went to uh, Kanagawa, which is where the
Mm,
wedding was being held for 3 days.
yeah.
And those 3 days paid for entirely. Didn't have to pay a single dime. It wasn't a hotel. It was like an actual like Japanese inn. Had like
Mm,
hot springs. You could see Mount Fuji from there. Like it was
that's awesome.
crazy.
It's very cool.
It's the craziest thing. It's paid for. We had authentic dinners. Bro, I tried Wagyu beef for the first time. I didn't even think that
Oh,
would
like
happen, bro.
authentic Wagyu?
Like
Yeah,
authentic
that's
Japanese
crazy.
Wagyu beef. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then after Kanagawa, we went to Kyoto, or no, Osaka for 3 days,
Mm,
Kyoto for one, and Tokyo, and then back to Tokyo so we could take our flight.
that's awesome.
So yeah, it was all over the place, but I loved it. I loved how much traveling we were doing. Getting like what we checked our steps tracker. I'm pretty sure we're getting like 40 to 50K steps a day, like just
Yeah.
walking,
Yeah.
straight walking everywhere. So there's a lot of things we visited. I'm not gonna get into that because that could take up this whole podcast. But the best thing about Tokyo, or the best thing about Japan in general, is that there's so much to do that you have to create an itinerary. So if you
Yeah.
guys have ever traveled before, you know that you don't have
And
to
it's
go
a
to the
small
extent of
country
like
too. I mean, land
exactly it is
wise. I mean, yeah.
land-wise, it is. It is. If you go to Tokyo, like Osaka, anywhere in Japan, if you go to Skyview, which is where we went multiple times during our trip, you'll see how like congested those buildings are
Mm,
together. Like
yeah.
everything just
Yeah.
looks like it's interconnected, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's just very small houses. It's all this, it's all that, but they look so like. If you've ever watched anime, it literally looks like it's right out of an anime. Like I'm dead ass, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like I think Japan was the best experience for me, not because of just the sightseeing. Like sightseeing were amazing, but
Yeah.
for me, one of the best experiences about Japan had to be the nightlife. I feel
Mm,
like nightlife there is very underrated. And when you think nightlife, you think like, bro, you think like Times Square, like New York, or if you live in Canada, you think of like Yonge and Dundas because it's like just a massive city area with malls, shopping, food, all this.
yeah.
But truthfully, Japan's nightlife is actually like the definition and meaning of what nightlife should be. Everywhere you go, there's lights either in front of you, to your side, in the corner of your vision, like
Yeah.
everywhere. It is all vibrant. They're all different colors. Everybody outside looks like they're having fun, whether they're drunk, whether they're not drunk. Everybody
Mm,
just looks like they're vibing with friends. You can get anywhere in Tokyo or anywhere in any of this massive cities in Japan just using the subway line. You don't need no buses, no trains,
yeah.
nothing. Like it is so like it is so unreal when you go there, and it
Mm,
honestly seems like you're like entering like a whole different dimension when you're going there.
mm,
Technology there is crazy. The way that their shopping works is crazy. The prices there aren't like here in Canada. Like there's no like inflation there doesn't even seem to exist, bro.
mm.
Like you
That
can get
was
full on meals for like $6, $7,
yeah. That was how I
right?
felt. Multiple places in Europe that I've been.
Yeah, yeah,
Europe
yeah.
was a very like I've been to um France, and then I've been to Bulgaria. And Bulgaria was like a 3 week
Oh,
school trip, and I mean that
oh shit.
yeah, that was like a culture shock for sure. And like
Yeah,
the biggest thing that stuck out to me, and I think you said this in our first take before the technical difficulties, but like you just said that like people just kind of seem like they don't have the same type of like inhibitions or problems in their life, and I
they
would say
don't, bro. They don't.
Europe felt the same to me. Like not that they don't have issues, not that they don't have things going on in their lives or whatever, but it's like their problems aren't tied to um, systemic issues in their government, in their life,
Yeah,
in whatever. Like it's not
a
related
thousand
to
percent.
money. It's not related to healthcare. It's it's like they have personal problems with other people because they have time for friends and those types of things. Like they just seem to be enjoying life in a different way. And I've
Yeah,
envied that every time I've been in Europe. That is
they
something
don't.
that stuck out to me a lot. Was
Yeah,
they just
they
like
don't worry about like the government. They don't worry about problems that are caused by government, or they're not worried
yeah,
about problems that are caused by like just
exactly.
living standards.
And I mean, some people are going to argue like the size of the U.S. Yeah, that's just not a comparison that you can make, and they may be right about that to some degree. But it is something that sticks out to me is like these people are having a completely different life experience than I am, just by virtue of
Oh yeah.
how we've grown up. I mean, like we talk about, the cultural differences between like, let's say like Britain and here, but it goes so much deeper than just the slang that we use or things like that. Because you see these people and they seem more joyous. I mean, I guess that's the word
Yeah.
I would use is like they just seem like they're enjoying life to a higher
Oh,
degree.
1000%. Yeah, I think Japan's thing was that it's that you can tell like some people are just like working 9 to 5s, they're getting on
Mm.
the subway, they're going home, they're trying to live life after. But like some people are like they finished school, bro. I don't know how
Mm.
school works in Japan. I just know I was there during their school times. Like some people would be
Yeah.
out in the streets at night right after school, bro. Like just
Yeah.
walking around. They're not even buying stuff. They're just walking around because
Yeah.
it's genuinely joyful to just walk around, see the lights, take pictures.
Yeah.
Like it just looks so enjoyable. And for them, that's just a lifestyle. For me,
Yeah.
it's just like entering that is like
Yeah.
crazy. But for
Yeah.
them, it's just like, oh yeah, after school we're gonna go out, we're gonna go to nightlife, and then it'll end early, so
Mm.
you could still get home,
Mm.
not worrying that you didn't experience the full thing. Get home in
Mm.
time, and next day do whatever you want. Like
Mm.
there's so much to do in Japan, where even like the residents in Japan or like the people that reside in Japan still don't like. They probably haven't done near to everything in that country.
Mm.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of them haven't been like countryside. A lot of them haven't been to the crazy tourist spots that I might have even gone to. Like you know
Yeah.
what I mean? As
Yeah.
much as it is the transportation there, it makes it so easy. Like there's like instead of like you take on full on trains, there's like bullet trains that go like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
hundreds of kilometers faster in a minute, and they literally take you from city to city that should be like 6 hours, 7 hours travel in like 2 hours, not even.
Yeah, dude.
And you
Train
can see
travel.
so
I love
much.
train travel. I
Train
took
travel is great. Train
I
travel is
went
great.
from New York to DC with my family. We
Mm,
flew to New York. I was performing in Carnegie Hall, which is a
okay.
well known place in famous New York, and with a choir
Right.
and then a college choir. Um,
Oh shit.
yeah, this is a charter school that I went to in high
Yeah.
school, and like it was a super cool experience. I was really grateful to have done it. And then my family like got special permission from the school. They were like, hey, instead of flying home with the rest of the choir, we want to take him on a family vacation right after. And this trip was right at the end of the year, so they were like, yeah, it's summer, like we can have that arranged, whatever.
Mhm.
So I did. So but we took New York to DC by train, and that was the best travel experience of my life. Like I don't like travel because of planes. It's not that I don't like
Yeah.
going other places. It's not that I don't like experiencing other cultures. It's one of my favorite things. But plane travel has ruined it for me to the degree where I don't travel much unless I have to, because like
Yeah.
you're crammed in there like a sardine, and they're like companies are stripping away more and more and more of these like things that are they're calling amenities, but I'm like these are basic things to me. Like these are things that I feel like I should have as an experience as a passenger, no matter what I'm paying on a plane. And like, things like legroom, food and drink, whatever. Like, where I just like, I feel I'm
Bro,
cramped in the same spot with
yeah,
people for, like, especially international, you're flying 14, 15 hours sometimes. And it's
dude.
miserable. It is absolutely miserable.
Japan was a direct 13-hour flight, and I kid you not, my one thing going into the flight, I was like, okay, I'm gonna manage with the legroom, even if it's shit, I'll try to manage, okay? But the second thing I said was, if I see a damn crying baby sitting anywhere near
Yep.
me, I'm gonna
Yeah.
cry.
Yeah.
And I sit down, and I kid you not, I'm sitting in the third row of the middle aisle, and
Yeah.
I'm on the edge seat of the middle aisle, so it's four seats. I'm on the edge. I'm looking to my left. I see a child with her freaking monitor, with like an iPad monitor,
Yep.
like 5 years old.
Yep.
And then I look in front of my seat through the crack, and I see a baby, and I'm like, this is the worst
Yeah.
placement I could have got for 13 hours. Thank God the baby wasn't that bad, but she
Yeah.
was still crying, and the little girl was crying, and I was like, there's just no way I have to deal with this all night. I think
Yeah.
I got 1 hour sleep that night.
Yeah. No,
And a
but
13-hour flight, I got a 1 hour. And then in
yeah.
Japan, I was somehow normal. So technically, I quote unquote pulled an all nighter. And I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
bro, this is so dumb.
No, I mean, yeah, but that why I bring that up is train travel was nothing like that. Train travel,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you're
for sure.
laying down, or you have a lot of leg room. I mean, if you're going on like a long distance train ride, you usually have like a room to yourself essentially in one of the like cars, and it's just so much more enjoyable. I mean, like I was, even for DreamHack Atlanta, I was trying to see there's not like an international U.S. system, or not a very good one. There is one that's
Okay.
called Amtrak, and they run the East Coast, and then Chicago is like the big base that like the where the network kind of stems off, and then it goes to
Oh,
like I think there's like a place in Florida or Texas, something like
yeah,
that, and then there's like
yeah.
one like West Coast that goes like all the way to like Utah or Nevada or Cali or something. I was trying to see if they had a track from Atlanta, because Atlanta is a hub, from Nashville, to see if I could take a train instead of flying or driving down to DreamHack Dallas if I was going to go.
Right.
Because I love train travel that much. It's so much easier, and you can take like a massive suitcase. Like I know that if I go to a DreamHack, I want to bring all my podcast equipment. I want to record, so like I have to take a big ass suitcase, and that was one of the big things. Was like can't like on a plane I'd have to pay extra money to get this big bag, and like all that stuff. And
Yeah.
I hate the whole flying experience in general. It's turned me off to traveling. Um,
I
to the
think.
point of
Well,
like
so you didn't take a trip to Dallas. You took a plane.
Uh, to Dallas, I flew. Yeah.
You flew. Yeah.
To
Okay.
Atlanta, I drove last year,
Yeah.
but that was because I was taking
Yeah.
my PC too,
Right.
which I'm not gonna do again. Because I didn't play, I didn't compete in, so I'm like, I just took my PC to like try and stream, and I'm like, there are better alternatives. I'd rather IRL stream now is my thing. Hold on, let me let my
Oh,
dog out real
100%.
quick.
No worries. Yeah, I think for me, I think the one thing about look at this dog, bro. Look at this cute ass dog. I think the one thing for transportation wise is that my parents are transit workers. Like my parents work in transit in Canada, and
Mm,
they look at the massive station in Tokyo is literally called Tokyo Station. So
yeah.
we took a bus from the airport to Tokyo Station,
Mm,
and we're looking at Google Maps and we're like, how the fuck does this shit work? We
mhm.
spent an hour and a half in Tokyo Station just figuring out where the fuck do we need to go.
Hmm.
After we figured out the first time, we figured out everything after that in like 10 minutes. Like everything was easy to
Yeah.
get to.
Yeah.
And we're standing in Tokyo Station. It's so nice when you walk into the main entrance and then you look at the lines and how they run. And like in Canada, you have four, or in where I live in Ontario, you have four main lines, or you have two main lines and two separate lines that go to like certain small areas, right?
Yeah.
Where like most attractions happen, or most kids of my age go.
Yeah.
Those two lane lines are dead useless, and one of them is like known to be scary just because of like the people that get on, people get off, and like they have
Mm,
like incidents on them a decent bit.
yeah.
And I
Yeah.
have to take that for school now every day. And I'm like, I'm thinking about that, and then I'm thinking about looking at the map of the Tokyo Station line or the Osaka Station line. I'm like, how the fuck does this shit compare? And my
Yeah.
parents are transit workers, and they're looking at it like, wow, our transit system's ass.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's so sad.
Well,
It's
I
just kind
mean,
of sad looking at it for
I
hours.
can't speak for Canada, but in the U.S. we spend $800 billion a year on defense, so we don't really have much that can go to public transit. Even so, I mean, I've always hated that. If we had an dude, like theoretically speaking, you could get across the country. I think it's in 20 hours if we had a national like train system that runs at the speeds of like Japan's. So it's like
Yeah.
that is and that can be a significantly lower cost ticket than flying that distance.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
and
For
for
sure.
me, I would rather do a 20-hour train ride with internet access,
Oh,
with
1000%.
with a food car, like with all that stuff, with a place to sleep, like fully lay down and sleep, than a 6-hour flight. Now, some people would say
Yeah.
I'm crazy for that, but like that's me. And I like
No, I agree.
to
I
connect the
agree.
whole
I agree
country
to
in
an
that
extent.
way, like would be a massive thing to where, like for example, I if there was a national train system, there's this whole YouTube video, and I've shown this to a lot of people, this specific YouTube video about this concept and how long it would take you to get from certain cities, like major cities in the US, to each other if there was this proposed international US railway system. And it was literally like
Right.
I could get here to the East Coast in like 8 or 9 hours. So, and it was like some of these things, like you could do interstate commutes. You could work in a different state. You could take a train there in 2 hours, come back, and work in a different place. And like it
Yeah.
would connect the US in this way where like it would make everything feel like crazy, like going to Texas, for example. If I wanted to go there for a
Yeah.
tournament or zero ping or a recording, if we had this like this railway system in place, I could be there in, I think it's like 2.5 hours or something like that.
Dude,
I mean, which
I
would be
think
insane. Like I could just
yeah.
hop down
Yeah.
there for a day. I could go record, like for example, if PL still existed, I could go record with any of our pro players, or do an interview, or do a GhostComms episode IRL with somebody, and then go back. And it's
Go back out.
it
Yeah.
makes those commutes way, like,
Dude,
I don't know, it's just
I think Japan's bullet train concept is literally why that country is revolutionary. Like
yeah,
the
oh for
reason that
sure,
country is revolutionary is because of their technology. They're so
yeah,
advanced, and they're like years ahead of other like first world is it third? No, first world countries like
yeah.
US and
I
Canada.
think
Like
I think it's
they're
developed now.
so
I think
ahead.
it's developed
It's
in something else,
100%.
the terms,
It's
but
I think in many I think in there's a different when you talk about developed and undeveloped countries,
yeah,
there's a lot of factors you have to bring in. And I think for every country right now, there's still development needed, of course. There's
yeah,
still things that are needed. Like Japan still has their societal standards. They still have their problems.
yeah,
Maybe more of them is based on society rather than technology. Whether in here, maybe it's more based technology than society. But I think that every country still needs development. But Japan is down the right track right now. Like they're down that track where their technology is making human lives easier
yeah,
while also making government lives easier. Like
yeah,
it's making
yeah,
everything easier for everybody, and the technology just helps out in general with the whole country itself.
yeah, yeah. So was the PL thing happening while you were there?
Yeah, so I mean I could just tell you I was in a hotel room in I think this is our first night in Osaka, and I'm sitting there like on my phone because we like take small breaks, like we'll take one break midday just to like rest up a bit, like 2 hours,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
go back out for nightlife. So I get back at like 4:30, and I'm on my phone just the night, like just waiting because I didn't want to really
yeah,
sleep or else I'd be knocked out. So I'm on my phone. All of a sudden, I just see a vast tweet, and I'm like, oh no, I see Jank's tweet, and I'm like, there's a troll. Well, I kind of thought it was a troll, but I kind of saw the build up to it because it's just how
yeah,
like we saw in the group chat.
yeah,
Like we're not gonna talk about a lot because that's still private. But I saw Jank's tweet, then I saw who's the other guy? Avaf Jank and what's his
sad,
name? Sad. I saw Sad's tweet, and then I saw Avaf's tweet, and I was waiting on Avaf's tweet because I've talked to Avaf about PL a lot, and like me and Avaf live very close to each other and shit like that, and like we've
yeah,
talked about a lot of shit. I saw
yeah,
Avaf's tweet, and I was like, fuck. And I was
yeah,
like, I'm in Japan. I'm trying to like have fun and shit. And I see that I'm like,
yeah.
fuck, dude.
So the way on the other side of the world, what happened to me with that whole experience was I got texted by Sad in the morning, and it was like, hey, can you make this meeting? No big deal. If not, I was like, yeah, okay. Well, I said I got some stuff, but I can move it around if you need me to be there. He's like, no, it's okay. It's like, cool. So I'm thinking it's a minor thing. I mean, we had the whole troll shutdown thing,
Yeah.
which is a whole ordeal in and of itself. I don't know why that idea spawned. I woke up to it. I woke up to all the tweets, so I had to go along with it, which whatever.
Yeah.
But we were in this whole rebuilding phase. We were, redoing a lot of stuff. We were going to kind of come out with this big boom back into the scene because people had thought that we'd shut down, or it was a lot of gray area. So I assume the meeting was about one of the many details that we had to hash out for this revamp, whatever we were doing. And so then I think I took a nap, and then I had a meeting, or I had a recording or something, and then I get out of that and I check my phone, and all of a sudden I'm looking at Twitter, and my phone has blown up in this time. And it's all the tweets, it's all the messages I'm getting.
Yeah.
Is this real? Is this whatever? And I'm like, I have no clue. So I text out. I'm like, yo, we're not doing like a run back on the meme, right? Like, and he was like, no, this is real. My understanding, I'm like you said, I don't want to go into too much detail about the specifics of what happened, but my understanding was that in that meeting that I ended up missing, there was a talk about how we were going to do this revamp. There were ideas thrown out. There was kind of a vision that was agreed upon by most of the ownership that was remaining on how we wanted to proceed and how we wanted to do this revamp, and specific rules and protocols and all the things that it was going to look like to keep us running, to make us profitable, all of that stuff. And I guess one of the owners didn't go along with that. This is my understanding. I may not know the whole story. I wasn't in this meeting. But my understanding is that one of the owners didn't go along with this idea. They stood pretty fervently on kind of a different ideal of what he wanted the whole thing to look like. And I guess that argument kind of marked the end. Like they were like, well, if we can't agree on this, I think the group of ownership that was kind of wanting to go that direction, which was a bit of a different direction than what PL had been before. I guess they were like, yeah, I don't want to deal with this anymore. If we can't come to an agreement that we all want to do this, if it's not unanimous, then we don't want to do it at all. And I guess that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And man, that sucks.
It did suck because I genuinely enjoyed those 4 or 5 months that I was on the team, and I wouldn't take it back for no reason.
It changed my life. I mean, legitimately, like I people know that I was the biggest advocate of PL. I mean, some people, if you only looked at my Twitter, you might say that I made it my entire personality for the time that I was on it, because I really did from the beginning. I bought into it really heavy, man. I bought into the people.
100%.
I bought into the vision, and I bought into the way that we did things. I mean, I really did see a difference in the way that we ran things compared to other orgs in the scene. I thought that we were doing a lot right, and a lot more right than other orgs. I mean, I'm not going to, well, besides 2 a.m., I'm not going to name any other names, but
2 a.m. slander exists to this day, bro.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It won't stop. I don't care if I'm affiliated with an org or not.
No.
But no, I mean, especially Jank, and Sad. Like I have love for Avaft. I respect Avaft, and he's really good at what he does. He can pick a man. He's a great scout. He knows competitive. He credit to him. And finding somebody like Cooper, for example. I mean, that's just, that's probably the highlight of his career.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah. But yeah, man, that fallout was big. PL was a massive part of my life. It was the first org that I ever really felt at home at. Because, I mean, I was never officially on Vice. I mean, I was, but I wasn't. Like, we never announced and whatever. And it was in the middle of my Vice stuff that we got the PL contract. So it was just, it was a whole thing. But yeah, I mean, it was
yeah. No, you're right.
But I just, I don't know. It was a big time for me. It really boosted me as a creator. It boosted me in the scene. I made a lot of valuable connections. It kind of it gave me a ton of experience in the career. I mean, like, dude, my career was kind of made by PL in the sense of, like, it kind of gave me, it boosted and fast tracked where I would have gotten to solo. I mean, I don't think I would be anywhere close to where I am right now. Had I not, signed on, and had I been solo this whole time, I still would have been working my ass off, but PL accelerated so much of that. It gave me opportunities. It let me meet people. So it will forever hold a special place in my heart. I mean, hence why the flag is still up. I'm not going to take it down until I'm no longer a free agent. But Yeah, and I'm probably gonna frame that too. That or my jersey. I haven't decided which one I'm gonna do yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was. I know. I imagine it was less important to you, not in the sense of like you weren't appreciative of it, but I just think like it was a lot more personal to me. I think just it being my
Oh, no,
first
no,
like
no.
major
I
org and all
100%
that
agree.
stuff.
One thing I'll say is that PL helped take a massive burden off my shoulder, and you could say even yours for the section of Ghost. If well, PL, the whole reason we both joined PL to start was because of GhostComms.
Yeah,
Evaft wanted us for the podcast. He wanted
yeah,
us because of our personalities, and the reason we announced was because of GhostComms, and then we both separately announced as our own thing as content
yeah,
creator and content director.
yeah,
But I think for me, what took that burden off my shoulder was that they were willing to, help with my content, whether that was
yeah,
paying off, paying off whatever I needed to owe, or
yeah,
like for my editor, they,
yeah,
helped me grow when it came to ideas.
yeah,
And I think and especially like the biggest thing for us was definitely those connections that we made.
yeah.
Like
Oh, for sure.
we were
Yeah,
able to grab Cooper, we were able to grab other
yeah,
guests,
yeah.
not to even
No,
be
I
like
mean,
even people that we couldn't actually end up recording with just because of time.
yeah,
We had a lot of people that were interested just because of the fact
yeah,
that like they saw that PL
yeah,
like logo landmark whatever you call it.
yeah.
And I think for me, one thing I wish I would should have taken more opportunity on rather than just like the burning of all that and like getting that removed. I think
Yeah.
for me, one of the things that I do regret is not reaching out further than the connections we made through ghost comms.
Mm.
And I think for that, if there is any regrets in my life, which I don't really have regrets in my
Yeah.
life,
I know what
if
you
there
mean.
is one
Yeah.
thing, I think it'd be that. And it's
Mm.
just because like people you can make content with. I think this summer, I was kind of quote unquote demotivated to continue content because I was
Mm.
like, I wasn't enjoying Fortnite.
Yeah.
I really didn't care for Val. And like
Mm.
Minecraft was that middle where it was like, I kind of like it, I kind of don't. But like
Yeah.
all my friends were on and I was trying to make content off of it, but it felt
Yeah.
very forceful. And I feel
Mm.
like I think the summer, I don't know if this is a hot take anymore, but for me, I feel like my winter break always does better than my summer break,
Yeah.
even though the
Oh, winter break goes
it
crazy.
shouldn't.
Yeah.
Time wise, it shouldn't, but the content you can get out of a winter break compared to a summer break is so
Mm.
much more. And I think it's just because people are just literally like at home and they don't want to leave
Yeah.
their house.
Yeah.
That's literally the concept of it.
No, for sure. No, I mean, dude, I before we go too much further off this topic, I do want to cover something that you said and just like, that PO was pushing you in your personal content, that they were enabling you to do that. I mean, that was a big thing for me. Um, having an editing team at my disposal and just all of the things were there and they were nice commodities, but what they pointed to was this idea that they actually believed in us, that they actually looked at the talent that they had and said, yeah, we believe in you guys, even if your numbers aren't as massive as some of the other people that we have on. We believe in what you're capable of. And I think that was the biggest thing for me about PL was they believed that I could be what I believe I can be. They saw the same vision for myself um, that I had. And that was what motivated me so much. I went above and beyond what I was called to do. I mean, I was brought on as a content director and creator, and I was doing a little bit of everything by the end. I was in management meetings and I was all this stuff, and because I was fully bought in, I wanted to make it work any way possible. And I really wish we had. I wish we had pushed through. I really think that time that where we did end up shutting down at the end of it. I think that was a make or break for PL. And I mean, it's hard to say exactly what would have happened if we had made it, but I mean, well, we would have won FNCS Global Championship. That's one thing, which
That is
sucks.
true.
I'm super proud of Cooper. I love Cooper.
Very proud. Holy
He's
crap.
a great kid. He really is. I mean,
They
yes,
made
he's
a crazy comeback from day one to two, bro. Crazy comeback.
that was a one day. You're talking about
Oh, sorry.
the
Yeah,
Heat.
the
Yeah,
Heat.
yeah, the
They
Heat
made a
into the
crazy comeback
finals.
from the
Yeah,
Heat to the
yeah,
finals. Yeah.
yeah. No, I mean their finals was dominant. I mean it was unbelievable. And really
For
like
sure.
after like game 3 of that finals day, I was like, wow, Cooper's actually going to win this. Like this kid who just qualified to his first grands 2 or 3 months ago is going to win the biggest international tournament and the most stacked tournament since World Cup, arguably more than World Cup, considering how
Oh,
much the skill is developed. I mean,
yeah. Considering skill development, yeah.
yeah, so it's like the biggest tournament to date in Fortnite history, and this kid came out of fucking nowhere. You know, I mean, really, he only got on anybody's radar when the server change happened, because he's lived in Texas his entire life, and you know, but I love Cooper. He's a great kid. He's really well spoken. I mean, I've talked about this before. I'm surprised at his ability to talk on camera. I mean, when we had him on the podcast, it was the only reason I asked him to be on the podcast was because we did an interview with him for PL, and I was like, wow, you're really well spoken for a kid your age. It's like he had been media trained. So we had him on, and I'm so glad that we did. Our episode jumped like 200, 300 views.
Yeah, I was
when he
say,
died. When he won.
When he won.
I don't know what I'm saying.
I think it was ironic. It's ironic that we it became our most popular episode. And I think when it hit 1K was it when I left Japan, or was it when I was in Japan?
It was sometime around that. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was around exactly 1,000 when he won, and then and then it jumped to like 1.2, 1.3, something like that, which awesome. I mean, awesome milestone, and I wouldn't have expected Cooper's to be the first to hit 1K. I'm really happy that it was.
100%. I think with the talk we had there, and I think we got the version of him where he was on his come up, like that was the start of his come up after getting second in Grand. You could say the second in Grand was his come up, but that wasn't it.
I mean,
that was the start of
anybody can have a one-off, you know, and that was the big thing for Coop was he got there, which was great, but everybody was saying, oh, he was carried by Miro. Like you can get a second in a Grands, it can be, it can be a big deal, but it also cannot be. You have to keep that consistency up, and what better than to go and win the biggest tournament ever. Yeah, I mean, dude, awesome, unbelievable. And yes, I wish that there had been a PL in front of his name when he had done it, but I couldn't be more proud of the kid. I texted his mom when he won. Like I love his parents. I've talked about them before. They really are some of the most supportive parents in esports that I've ever seen, and I've been sure to say that, like 50 tweeted about Cooper and how well he's capitalized on his opportunity, which is very true. Cooper has done a fantastic job of capitalizing on the temporary momentum that he got from winning. But so much of that is his parents. His parents are the ones who found him a manager. His parents are the ones who push him every day. His parents are the ones who keep him in check, keep him the person that he's supposed to be. I mean, when Cooper, he's had a couple instances where he said things that are just completely out of line, and his parents are the ones who rope him in, say, hey, this is not who you are. Let's chill out on that. Like, this is not constructive, all that stuff. So, and his parents have gone to lands with him. His dad went to Copenhagen with him. His dad and his mom both stopped me in Dallas at DreamHack Dallas. And said, hey, like, you're the guy that did the podcast with Cooper, right? Like, just unbelievable support from them. And we've talked about how massive that is in an esports career, that your parents understand what you're doing, are invested in what you're doing, and then that they're helping you and being a part of that, part of that process.
It's one of the greatest things, but it's also one of the best feelings.
Yeah. Oh, and I think it's one of the biggest markers for success on who's going to succeed in this industry and not. I mean, Clicks would not be where he is without his dad, for one. And then, like his management team, Feldy, massive shout out to Feldy, because Feldy is, the brains of half of the shit that happens behind Clicks. And, just Booga too. Booga got a management team right after World Cup. I mean, it's like
Booga has his dad as well, bro.
Yeah.
His dad was literally like, I'm pretty sure his dad, I don't remember if this is true. He doesn't work full time anymore with his job. He actually works full time as Booga's manager.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right about that.
I think I am.
But I mean, dude, it's just a massive thing. Like, when your parents support you in this industry, it just gives you that extra push, both in the practical sense and in the motivation sense of just like, oh shit, like somebody besides me believes in what I'm doing. And it's the same thing I was talking about with PL. To feel like someone is in your corner in this industry, it gets you through those valleys.
It's just like a management team. Now they're just, your parents are now on your team.
Yeah.
They're going to be that support for you, regardless of your management team isn't. Your management team, of course, is important, but they're not family, bro. Like, they don't know you to the extent that your parents would know you. They don't know you to the extent your family knows you. Like, when you know that your family knows you and then they support the decisions you're making, it's just a whole different feeling. And I know for, like, certain families, like, of course, there's, like, societal standards and there's also cultural standards that, some of these things, like, some parents don't get and they just don't understand which is a career, which is fair because we don't, like, parents aren't worried about, like, what this is. It's more about, can this, like, is this a sustainable future for you?
Yeah.
So certain certain cultures, certain societal standards that have been given from those cultures, kind of held them back from that.
Mm,
But once, if you have those parents, which is rare in this generation but maybe becoming more common
mm.
in the years to go with esports, when you have those parents, it's one of the most grateful things that you should it's one of the
Yeah.
things you should be most grateful for,
Yeah,
by far.
for sure. No, for sure. And that's something that I'm a big advocate for, is bringing understanding to the parents and
Hmm.
showing this is what your kid is doing, this is what they're involved in. But also on the flip side, going, these are the careers that are happening now, that are being built. This is the industry that's being built. Here are the numbers on esports. I mean, I did a presentation in my college class on the percentage growth of the esports industry. It's set to break, I think, $1.5 billion in the next 3 years as an industry, which is
Mm.
absolutely insane. I mean, that's an
Yeah.
insane number. In 2018 to 2019, the esports industry as a whole grew 189%, which is unprecedented for any industry. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
and we're seeing the birth of a lot of these jobs, these industry standards, these careers that are beginning to pop up and exist now, and bringing understanding to the parents, saying, hey, this isn't just like your kid wasting his life away. We're seeing the beginnings of this being something that's going to be around and going to be
Oh yeah.
making a lot of money. And if your kid can
By
get in
far.
now, if they can make a name for themselves, if they can get in with the right people and make the right connections, they're going to be the ones that are hiring people out of college in 5, 10, 15 years. And that's really
100%.
exciting. And I love doing that. When I was a coach for youth esports, that was, that and hardware was the biggest things that I got questions about. So I educated myself to make sure that I knew at least a little bit of what I was talking about, to like, yeah, this is what your kid can do with this. And like, this is, I mean, even now, college degrees or getting scholarships. I know several people that play for collegiate Valorant teams that are on full ride scholarships. I've got a buddy
Oh
who
yeah.
who is, his entire degree is getting paid for because he gets paid to sit there and play Valorant. Like that, and that's
That's one
just
of my friends
amazing.
too.
I mean,
He got a scholarship for University Valorant somewhere here in Canada, and bro's getting paid like 65,000 on a scholarship to be a six man for Valorant. So he's
yeah,
not even he enjoys the game, he can play it, but he's a six man, so he's a substitute.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like he doesn't even have to
No,
do
and
as
that's
much as a
unbelievable.
player would.
That's awesome. I mean, that's the dream, right? That
Yeah,
you get
for
to
sure.
use your passion, even if you don't get to the final place with your passion, right? Even if you never go pro or never play in the VCT, at least you use that to get a degree, get something that will help you in your life forever. That it will be an unbelievable achievement and something that will set you apart in whatever you want to do going forward. I mean, a bachelor's degree is a massive token, wherever you go. Even if it's not related to the field, they will always take someone with a bachelor's degree over someone that does not have it, unless that person has like 10 plus years of high grade experience, which
Yeah.
you're building too. If you're in the esports scene, you're building the experience at the same time, so it's like, especially right now, experience will be everything right now in the
Oh yeah.
esports scene.
Oh yeah.
The people that are working in it now are going to be more valuable than people that have a degree right now. That will change in 10,
1000%.
15 years, but right now that experience is invaluable, which is another massive reason that I'm thankful for what I got to do at PL, because I got to learn so much about not just my job and what I did, but all how everything works, how this entire industry works. I mean, we knew so, like, that, man, dude, what happens in a management call, like, we know so much about what everyone is doing. And that can be independent people like clicks, that can be entire orgs, that can be teams, that can be whatever. Like, we knew so much of what was going on and how business is done and all of that stuff. It was invaluable to me. Now I can take that into the next place that I end up, whatever that is. I'm a free agent, by the way. Um, and be a even more
Yeah.
valuable asset to the next team. And speaking
I,
of which, speaking of teams
wait,
and
wait. Before
experience.
before I know what you're gonna get to. I
Okay,
know
all
what you're
right,
gonna
all
get to.
right, all right.
At the end of the day, as much as you make friends and connections through orgs, through connect like through streaming, through all that, through YouTube, whatever it is you do, as much as you make connections with friends, at the end of the day, it is a business.
Hmm.
Like, as much
Yeah,
as we love the content creation side, as much as
yeah,
we dream to be the content creator that we see on YouTube or TikTok or whatever it is that you
yeah,
do, at the end of the day, as an org or even as an individual, you're building a brand because it's your business.
yeah,
And it's like, sometimes you can't have all your friends on one thing, or sometime on one team,
yeah,
or sometimes you can't
yeah,
have all your friends working together. And it's just because you have to look for the individuals that are genuinely put in the time and effort. And as
Yeah.
much as it might be hurtful or sad, kind of, sad or whatever you want to say, to not have them with you, it's like it's for the better of your life, and sometimes it could even be the better for their life.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that is it's a hard line to draw. And
Mhm.
especially in a place I've noticed this a ton with streaming. Um, because some people do it as a hobby or they just do it as a thing that they enjoy doing. And that's perfectly fine. But
Yeah, if you, yeah, yeah.
then there becomes this disconnect because like some of my behaviors, for example, people have said to me, why do you do that? Why do you act that way? And it's like, okay, I'm trying to make this a career. It's fine if you're not, but I'm acting like, for example, like TwitchCon, somebody was like, dude, oh, can we hang out or can we whatever? I was like, yeah, absolutely. But I've got X amount of people that I need to see today and whatever. And he's like, what do you, like, you're like you have like a quota? I was like, yeah, essentially like those lands, I cannot let myself be in full vacation mode and just sitting back
Oh
and
yeah.
not making use of it to the point where I'm making connections and I'm networking. I had a list of people that I'm like, okay, these are people that I've talked to or that I want to talk to, either for the podcast or a team or a project that I have coming up or whatever, that I want to talk to them in person, because the in person is different than the online for sure. You will get business opportunities through, you'll get messages through, you'll be able to talk to people that you wouldn't be able to talk to. So all of that I knew. So he was like, wow, like I've never thought about, like a land like this. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. You don't have to. You're just here to meet people that you love. And that's great. That's fine. But we're not in this for the same reason. I'm taking this to the point of I want to make this a career. And these are the things I have to do that. And, it can be a weird thing for people because some people are treating it only as a hobby or just as a thing they're doing for fun. And when you make that decision that you want to make this a career and give everything to that, you're going to act differently. And some people think that's crazy or whatever. And that, like, kind of to your point, it is different. We operate on a different mindset. We have different objectives with this.
Exactly.
And that can be jarring for people.
I
But
think, yeah, people just kind of got to accept that at the end of the day, it's a business. It's, if
yeah,
you really want to make this a career,
yeah,
it's your life.
no,
Like
and you do,
it
and that,
depends on the decision. Your life depends on the decisions you make daily.
yeah, and it becomes radically different. It really does. I mean, you like all the people that have come to me or asked me for advice or whatever about this industry, especially with streaming. I'm like, you can't be streaming 6, 7, 8 hours. You just can't. You have to be streaming 2 or 3 or 4 hours and then making content on every other platform. Make YouTube videos, make TikToks, have a podcast, whatever it is, you need to be somewhere else. And even that idea,
sure.
they're like, but I like streaming. I don't like all this other stuff. I'm like, yeah, I didn't either at the beginning. I've grown to like a lot of it. I've grown to like the process of coming up with TikTok ideas and doing voiceovers and all that stuff. But at the beginning, I only wanted to be streaming. And I mean, I had like a 400-hour month, and it was like, man, I barely went anywhere. Like, it was awesome. I got a lot of raids and stuff, but like, that's not like that growth compared to like one TikTok is like the same. So it's like, okay, if it takes me a day to make a TikTok and a month to do this growth on Twitch, obviously, my efficiency needs to be somewhere else. So yeah, you have to make sacrifices even for what you want to do. Like, to be a full-time streamer, the last thing you need to be doing is streaming, ironically enough. Like, like Speed
Yeah,
Speed streams to get clips. That's where his entire, it's like, that's where everything comes from. Now he's at a point where his stream is monetizable enough, but that's because there's a consistent, people are doing it for him now. He's gotten so big that people are just posting the clips to try and get his clout. It's like,
to grow on one social media, you still need other social media
yeah.
platforms.
Or like
Realistically
Queso.
speaking.
Queso is a great example of what's happening right now. He just he blew up massively from TikTok clip compilations because he was on another platform. Like, he at the beginning, you're streaming to get clips that go somewhere that that shows people who you are, and then it can become, now his stream is monetized, because monetized to the point of being his full-time income. I mean, even people that we know, the smaller creators who aren't averaging 20,000, a lot of the big TikTokers I know, who are also massive streamers, their main income is TikTok. Even if they're a streamer, it's like if they're in that creativity fund, which you best believe everyone is grinding for right now, like, that's the place you need to be. So it becomes a different game.
I literally saw someone's TikTok day in the life this morning, right,
Mm.
like literally right before this recording, and it was someone's day in the life, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this is how I make 10K a month on 10K a month on TikTok." And he goes on TikTok, and he goes on YouTube, and he's like, "Oh, I look for Neon's clips, and I screen
Yep.
record them." And I'm like,
Yep.
"Why do you think streamers like Neon blow up? It's
Yep.
because of a dude like
Exactly.
this that's
No,
making money
exactly.
off his content and
It's
making
people who are,
compilations of
yeah,
Neon
no,
clips."
exactly. And that's why you shouldn't be mad when people are like stealing your content or whatever. I mean, if it's like if they're trying to pass it off as their own, that's different. But like when people are just posting your clips, trying to get like secondary clout, like ride your coattails, that's not a bad thing necessarily because you're getting
It's a
free
win-win.
advertising. You are like that's unpaid marketing that you are just getting for free. It means you're entertaining enough that somebody wants to use you for views and money. And like, that is it,
Pretty much.
it's um I mean, even Andrew Tate, you can make that argument that was, that was
Yeah.
really when his blow up on the mainstream internet happened, was when his clips from the masterclass or whatever he had started getting put out, and then clips from podcasts, and then all of that stuff. All of this is like it's other people, it's word of mouth, and that's
Mhm.
where we're at now. So it's like if you can be entertaining enough to where that word of mouth starts to take place, where people go, "Wow, this is cool. I want to share this," or "I want to, get a piece of this," or whatever. Um, so getting into hard transition, no good segue. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
bringing
yeah.
bringing back Vice Fortnite. You announced this recently. You you were on. You were obviously, if anyone knows your history, even when we started, right? You were still lead of Vice Fortnite
Yeah,
when we started this podcast
from yeah.
in
I was
February.
I initially joined Vice in I want to say April, May of 2022, and then
Okay.
became lead July 2022. So that's last previous summer,
Yeah. Yeah.
previous to last summer. And I became a lead for Vice, and I didn't see myself as a lead, but I took that opportunity because
Yeah.
Reflections, who's the owner of Vice currently, you know, gave me that role. He trusted me with that role. He
Yeah.
saw potential in me that maybe even I didn't see at the time,
Yeah.
and I was the leader for Vice for I think it was like 4 or 5 days before a year,
Mm.
and then the
That's
org
right.
shut
I
down.
remember you tweeting your year anniversary. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Or
then
what would have been your, yeah.
I
Okay.
I think for me, the reason I bring Vice back was that the problem with Vice wasn't the players. The problem with Vice wasn't
Mm.
what we were doing. It was the problem of just realistically speaking, as much as I wish this wasn't important, it was finances.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I
I
as a
mean,
lead,
every org, no matter
yeah,
like it's scaled, right? But it's like every org is struggling, every org is losing money. Now, how much
hmm
money that is dependent on how much you're putting in a month. Some orgs, their investors are $50 a month. Some orgs, their investors are 1,000. Some are like 5K. It's like they're all, but it's all the same scale. Or it's all
yeah,
the same loss. It's
exactly.
just at a different scale. Yeah.
Right. So for me, it was again, like I'll just say it now, like we're not monetized on any platform right now, and
Mm.
other than Twitch, I guess, but we're not making money from currently even we're not making money from things, and you can just tell that by numbers wise, like you can just
Yeah.
tell,
Yeah.
but it's not that hard to assume. And for me, it was that I was putting in, I'm not going to say the exact amount, but I was putting in money that, I was making part time and
Yeah.
spending on that. And it
Yeah.
was an investment. I'll never regret that investment
Yeah.
because I did
Right.
genuinely get pros out of it when it came to growing my community, growing Vice's community, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like we went from like 1.8K that summer to when I quit, I think, I don't know where we're at now, but it's like 2 point something. Like we still made a pretty big growth in that year,
Yeah.
considering that content creation could take a while to make growth in.
Yeah.
But I think for me, the main reason why I couldn't continue at the time. So I think this shut down around, I want to say like it was right before summer, right entering. I think we were in entering summer break or in summer break. Um, yeah, I was just like financially, I can't handle it, especially because that summer I wasn't working part time, so I didn't
Mm.
know how to continue it. Um, and the second thing was also that my passion for the game kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
I stopped like I played competitive not to take it seriously, but to make content out of it, which was working
Yeah.
for me, which I love doing. I love
Yeah.
taking like competitive somewhat serious just because it was cool to learn more about the game and whatnot. But
Yeah.
for me, it was kind of like my friends lost passion. I started losing passion. People I
Yeah.
played with started losing passion, and a lot of people kind of like left the scene, and I was kind of like, I don't know
Yeah.
where this leaves me. And then I went into Minecraft and stuff like that. And while I was playing Minecraft was when this was roaming around my head, like, damn, I didn't think I'd be ending it, but you know,
Yeah.
sometimes it happens. And I think at the end of the day, most people saw it somewhat coming within the last month or like
Mm.
last few weeks of that team. And it
Yeah.
wasn't because we weren't like in COD, in Call of Duty. Vice is known for multiple games, but in
Yeah.
Call of Duty, they were succeeding very well.
Mm.
And then, yeah, for me, it was just Fortnite ended. And then the
Yeah.
Call of Duty team got scammed out of their clan tourney win, which lost us money. And then
Mm.
they didn't even break even for how much they spent. And
Yeah.
then I guess Vice in general kind of slowed down entirely. Like
Mm.
our owners, you know, they're people that have their lives outside of this. They're older guys. They got to pay their bills, bro. They got
Yeah.
to do shit.
Yeah.
They got to work part time, full time, whatever it is. I think it's just a lot of people in general kind of lost their motivation to continue running the team. But as you know, I've announced that it's coming back, and the reason for this coming back is reflections, man. That guy is a motherfucker that can somehow convince me with anything. And
Yeah.
I think they put out a tweet saying, like, if you've ever been in Vice or ever enjoyed Vice or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I think that tweet almost is at 100 likes now, which I haven't even seen out of the Vice tweets yet.
Yeah.
And it was literally because people genuinely missed it. People said, bring back Vice Fortnite, bring back Vice
Yeah.
Fortnite.
Yeah.
And people keep asking me, like, I'm the head of it. Like, I'm like, bro, I'm not lead anymore. Like, I can't do nothing. Like, I'm not even in the org. Like, it's nothing personal. It's just like, I don't have the time for it. And I'll get into that later why I don't, like, time wise, like, a lot is going on for me.
Yeah.
But also, I think for me, it was kind of like, I didn't think I had the time for it. And I still to this day, I'm trying to figure out, like, will Vice succeed? That's an uncertainty because in anything, it's an uncertainty. Will I succeed in anything? It's an uncertainty. But
Yeah.
I want to make it certain. It just anything can happen in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with Vice, it's kind of just like we're trying to take with me and Berto what we talked about. Berto is what I call him. Main reflections. Our kind of direction. I'm not gonna speak about the direction yet because I want people to figure that out, just of how we do stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's a new direction we're taking entirely different from what our last was. One thing you could say is quality over quantity now, and that's my main focus. And we've already started making some moves, but you'll see those in the future. But I think for me, it was kind of just like that decision to come back to Fort. Also, was inspired by OG Fort, definitely
Yeah.
to say the least. OG Fortnite, bringing back previous creators, bringing back people
Yeah.
that you know you never thought would come back to the scene,
Yeah.
or highly unlikely to come back to the scene. Seeing the hype around the game, just seeing people like actually enjoying the game and like people enjoying just even playing pubs now, like not even competitively competing. There's still flaws with the game. I won't say that. I can't say that, or I
Yeah.
can say that. Like there's
Yeah.
still mad flaws with the game
Yeah.
that they're gonna figure out. Hopefully, figure out. But I think for me, it's just like Vice has always been a passion for me. It's always been a passion project for me. Like even when I was on PL, I told them like I don't want to stop being lead, and they
Yeah.
accepted me for my decision because they knew how passionate I was about it. I like
Yeah.
spoke to Sad about it. I spoke to Vaft about it,
Yeah.
like personally, like in depth of my feelings about it, and they kind of accepted it for me. But yeah, I think we've we've worked out a plan to make sure that we're not losing as much money. Even to start, we're gonna still be losing money because that's just how it goes. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you lose money, but you'll gain
That's
it in
the
the
scene.
future,
Yeah.
right? It's just how an income statement would work, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
trying to just figure out like where that balance is and just making sure that we're still able to live our lives while also making a business. Like at the end of the day,
Yeah.
again, it is a business. Like I want to make money out of it. I want to do all this, but at
Yeah.
the same time, I've come to that realization that me and Reflections both came to the realization is that esports right now isn't profitable. Realistically speaking, is not profitable.
Yep.
And we've kind of accepted that. And the reason we continue to do it, and a lot of orgs have dropped out for the reason that esports isn't profitable, the reason we continue to do it, or the reason I brought it back, is literally because I know esports isn't profitable, but I want to see the people in esports succeed. Because if those
Yeah.
people in esports succeed, how will it become profitable?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
No, I know what you're
So
saying. Yeah.
for me, it's like right now I know it's not profitable. In the future, it's possible.
Yeah.
But for
sure.
that to happen, it's that the kids in the scene, the teenagers in the scene, the content creators in the scene have to succeed in order
Yeah.
to keep it. And
Yeah.
my thought before was that the team itself could grow these players. But it's
Yeah.
the opposite way around. It's the players grow the team,
Yeah.
which then relays back to the players, which then relays back to the team. It's just a
So-
whole loop and connection.
Somebody put it to me this way recently is that like you have to think of an org as its own independent content creator. And the orgs that
Yeah.
do really well are the ones who make a brand for themselves as if it was one content creator. Now,
Mhm.
so it's more like, think about it as the org is a creator, a singular creator, and they are collabing essentially with all of these other creators using their numbers and their influence to then boost their own. That's how it works. It's fame by association essentially until you build enough of a brand. And and they gave a few examples, and I think FaZe is probably the biggest out there. 100 Thieves, a lot of these where you can be a fan of the org and not the people on it. When your org gets to that point, that's when like, oh, we've built a brand that is consistent despite who we have on the roster or not. And like you can
1000%.
you can build that through individual players. I mean, Sentinels, if it weren't for Booga and if it weren't for Tens, nobody would really give a fuck about who they are. But
Yeah.
but now
Tariq would be the closest, but yeah.
Booga's gone and Tens was gone or he is gone. I'm not sure where he is right now. But now people know Sen, regardless of who's on it or not. Like they've done that correctly. We both. I'm glad you came to that conclusion. And yes, esports is in that place right now. And I commend you for being one of the people that wants to keep esports alive, knowing that, hey, I may lose money now or I may whatever, just for the sake of the passion, just for the sake of wanting the industry to succeed in the future. That's the attitude we need out of people. And that's kind of, I tweeted this recently because we've both been in a transitional period, I think.
Oh yeah.
We've just kind of been growing and changing. And I know for me that came with a combination of losing PL and then like personal issues. Like I had some like personal stuff go down, connections that were really important to me that were kind of my support systems in place for different aspects of my life kind of fall through. So then to not have PL and to not have that, to just kind of be alone with my content and really have to look at who I was as a creator and my brand, I was like, oh, fuck. Like, I'm not where I want to be. And now, I mean, that was a good place for me to be in. It was challenging.
A good realization.
No,
It's
yeah, it was. I mean, Smacks and I, shout out to Smacks, sat in a call and he was like, dude, you need to fix your fucking Twitter. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, dude, you're like the content of your tweets, he said, I know they're troll, but like people don't, and he's like, it's too much. Like the ratio is not good enough. And he's like, your bio is a mess and your profile picture needs to go and your banner. So we spent a whole like hour, cleaned up my Twitter, and like every time I've looked at it since then, I go, damn, that's somebody that I would hire or DM. The other person was not. I looked like another little Timmy in the Fortnite scene. If you didn't know me personally, like my personal brand, what I was outputting was different than who I am, and like, it was a big thing for me. But I've been going through this entire thing as a creator, analyzing all of that. Analyzing my YouTube, my Twitter, my TikTok, whatever, to go, damn, who do I want to be as a creator? Where am I right now? Who do I want to be? And how much of a gap is that? And like TwitchCon inspired a lot of that. Personal issues, and then losing PL, not being associated with an organ anymore, where I can kind of piggyback off of that brand and going, I'm just me now, and I have to be just me. What am I putting out to people? What am I broadcasting? That was a big thing. Like I really had to take note and go, damn, I have a lot of fixing up to do. And I've made a lot of progress in that. I'm still working through a lot of that. I mean, this podcast, like just recording today is a step in that process for me of going, all right, I need to get back in the saddle. I need to do something that I love. I kind of touched on that in the beginning, but I came to this epiphany, and I think this kind of goes along with what you were saying about bringing back Vice and why you did. I tweeted it too, was I would rather be unsuccessful and do things the way that I want to do it and do the content that I'm passionate about that I think is important than do it by any means necessary. And most people I know in this scene want to do it by any means necessary, and they don't care if their character changes or gets thrown in the dust to make that happen.
I've seen it so much, especially in Fortnite, bro.
Yeah.
I'd rather do content that I enjoy and don't make as much money off, as rather than becoming the creator who forces their personality, forces their content just to see their numbers rise.
Exactly. And I think that's kind of where you're going with the Vice thing is You would rather build an org that you know is going on, what's going on there. You know the values they stand for. You know they believe in because you're making it. You are dictating what that is. You're going, we're going to run things the way that we want to run things. We're going to make the content that we want to run. We want to do things correctly from your point of view, as opposed to go join an org, for the clout or for the whatever. And they are out there. I mean, I can name a few, and obviously, again, 2 a.m. at the far end of that spectrum. But they are out there, and like I've got offers from them, and I'm like, no, you're not. I know that my values will not stand, that I will be an outcast just for kind of what I believe in, not like in a deep sense, like, religiously or whatever, but just
No.
how I want to approach this scene, and how I want to approach content creation is not going to be a common view at all amongst certain orgs and certain people. They just don't think that way. So that was, and that tweet got a lot of interesting reactions, I think. But that's where I'm at, man, is I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do this the way that I want to do it. I'm going to give it my all, do the content that I want to do. Cause like even with podcasts, people are like, dude, nobody listens to podcasts, especially not Fortnite kids. And I'm like, you may be right about that, but it's what I want to do. And honestly, the podcast, when I thought back in my career, cause I've been in this whole like, kind of introspection and like this whole deep, like looking at myself as a creator, I'm like, damn, the podcast brought me everything. It was starting the podcast. It was stepping out of streaming and starting the podcast that started the domino effect that led to PL, that led to my connections that I have, some of my closest friends in the comm, all of the business ventures that I've tried to start since then, and like led me to where I am now. Was that initial step of going, I am passionate about this and I want to do this.
I think for me, it was the podcast was another project that I wanted to see succeed. Like for me, it's like, I've only realized this somewhat recently, but I've been told by, a lot of my friends, that I've been told this by, other people in my life, that I'm a workaholic.
Yeah.
I just love working.
For sure you are.
I don't like being in bed for more than 20 minutes and being like, fuck, I have nothing to do.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be at my setup, and even if some people in my household aren't the most fond of me sitting at my setup for hours a day, I'll always be like, but this is me working. They'll be like, why aren't you getting work done? I'm like, no, this is me working. You just don't see it right now. I promise you, in the future you'll probably see it. I understand why you don't see it right now. But this is me working regardless.
No, you have one of the best work ethics I've ever seen. I mean, legitimately. I mean, to your credit, like it's why you're successful at everything. I mean, you have talent, you have very natural gifts in a lot of what you do, but what sets you apart from everyone else, and why I knew that you were perfect for this was, that extra effort that you put in when nobody else is. The stuff that you're doing that nobody else is putting in is a massive thing.
I appreciate that. I do truly appreciate that, and I'm happy you see it, because the way I see it is like, I still have all these projects. I'll go into them in a bit, but I have a lot of these projects, and even though I feel like I'm doing a lot, it's also like I look at numbers at the end of the day do still matter if I want that payment in the future, if I want that type of full career in the future. As much as I don't like saying it, like money matters. As much people that say money's not a necessity aren't smart, realistically speaking. But at the same time, it is true. Like, money is a necessity. Like, at the end of the day, money is a necessity, and if as much as I'll always enjoy, like, I'll put my happiness over money, that money still matters. It's not saying that it doesn't
for sure.
matter.
Yeah.
And if I want to make this a full career, if I want to make this, my full-time income, I'm going to have to look at that, like, realistically speaking. That's why I like looking at analytics. That's why I need someone to help me look at analytics. That's why I'm always pushing for that shit. And for me, it's kind of like, I realized that even though I'm doing all these projects, I can always do more, not in the sense of quantity, but rather trying to gain the impressions on this project, or trying to gain, my abilities to work on this project. Like, outside of GhostComms, outside of my content, I'm a university student now, first year, studying cinema and media arts. I am producing, not the host, not the co-host of it, but I'm producing a second podcast in person at a legitimate studio.
Which is awesome. I wish I was doing that. I mean,
dude, it is. Yeah, I'll show you. I'll actually show you a video after. I'll show you a video. But there's that. I have my I have Vice now, Vice Fortnite,
Yeah.
and I have Underrated Elite, which is a new sports group that talks about like just everything going on in sports, like a
Yeah.
sports documentation group.
Yeah.
And I have four of those projects that recently have all come up. And then I have two other things I'm still working on at the current moment that I'm not going to speak on.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on. And as much as I love working, of course, time is always going to be my main restraint.
Yeah.
Time will always be my main restraint. Like I will
Yeah.
never be able to get everything done in one day just because of the 24-hour limit that I have in a
Yeah.
day, or
Yeah.
16 hours because I need my 8 hours sleep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was in the same spot. I don't know, a few months ago. I mean, when I was doing Unreal League, which damn, that was a whole. I was doing the podcast. I was doing PL shit. I was doing my own personal content. I was doing GhostComms. Did I already mention GhostComms? I can't remember.
No, I don't think he did,
But yeah, I was doing a little bit too much. And then I was doing the talent agency. I actually forgot that I was doing that for a time. And I tried to be a manager. I tried to be a personal manager for a couple of creators too.
Yeah. I think the one thing with us is like the reason we work so well is because we like working. We like getting
Yeah.
shit done. As much as we are friends, we also like getting shit done.
Yeah.
And like that mentality of getting shit done always
we
matters.
switch very quickly between being friends and business partners, and we do it.
Yeah.
We do it very
Like,
well.
We know
We
when
balance
to
it very
switch and
well.
we know when to take shit serious and we know when to not take shit
absolutely.
serious, which is honestly a lack in a lot of businesses because they don't take shit serious at the right times or vice versa.
Yeah.
But I think the reason we work so well and the reason this podcast has worked well for us, like in the sense that you find the guests, I go make the ideas, I go make the questions, I like find what to post for the video, whatever it is, get the thumbs up, whatever.
Yeah.
We have the certain assets of what we need to do, and we connect with each other. We know how to link with each other when it comes to like building upon these ideas, figuring out what's next, figuring out who do we get next, like all this shit.
Yeah.
And I feel like even if it wasn't a podcast, if it was an org, or if it was like something smaller or something bigger, whatever it is, I feel like us two would be able to work very well together.
Oh, for sure. Even when we were working, even when I was working behind the scenes with Vice content, and we were generating ideas, and we were scheduling recordings and whatnot. I mean, we kind of took a two-pronged lead on it. I mean, you were like the head, but like we were very much. It was very much the same workflow that we have with everything else that we do. And I mean, I wish I could. And we try. I mean, we did this with PO, but I wish I could do this everywhere I go. As I just want to take you as a package deal into anywhere that I go.
I think it'd be cool. Well, I mean, I'm not going to speak about it, but there was a proposed idea for something else, but we won't speak on that. I think for us, like again, the same way that I was explaining earlier, as much as we are friends and much as we are friends and we got getting shit done, sometimes at the end of the day, it's literally a business. Like I will always respect the shit you do. I will respect wherever you go. I'll respect what you end up doing with your life, whether that's consecration or not.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, as much as I love being a package deal and I love getting shit done together, I still have to get shit done on my own. And even if we don't have the same interest sometimes, we have to get shit done on our own. Like let's say
we did a good job about that. We split with PL. Yeah. I mean, that was you wanted to stay in the Vice direction. I wanted you to come on and basically have the same job. I wanted to split my job with you, and we talked a little bit about that when we were in contract negotiation and all that. And like, it just didn't play out that way. You wanted to continue doing Vice, and that was great. And actually, I think it was better in the long run because I had to learn a lot and I had to do a lot of stuff that I was uncomfortable with, and I had to grow just as a worker. To not just be able to dish it out to Vishal because I know that he'll do it and do it right, which is awesome. I think,
for me, I just enjoy like even in the future, I think I'll enjoy it. Like even if it's smaller projects, even though I have something massive going in the future, like I know I'm gonna have something massive going in the future, whether that's in content or not.
Yeah,
I'm still gonna like doing the little projects. I just want to see shit succeed. Like when I start something or when I get invited to something, I do genuinely, even considering how small it is, how big it can be, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I still always consider like what this means for me. Like I saw that sports documentation group was very impulsive decisions that I made on the spot. Fail asked me, and I was like, "This is actually very interesting." Like I've been into basketball. Like I've played basketball for more than half my life. I still play basketball. I still watch basketball. I know everything about basketball. I would love to take that director of basketball lead or NBA lead.
Yeah.
And I took it, and I instantly took it, and I was like, I know what to talk about. I know what I need to get done. I know what will help us grow this group. and it was the
Yeah.
most impulsive decision I made for joining like a team or
Yeah.
project, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it. And
Yeah.
I think for
For
me, it's
taking
just
on
because
another
I see
responsibility.
I'm taking that responsibility, and I also see the passion within me
Yeah.
and within that org.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I know
Right.
Fato's a very passionate dude, and I trust him.
Oh,
So
Fatal
I'm also
is either number two or tied with you for work ethic. I mean that kid is a maniac, legitimately. Like,
I fucking love
dude. I
Fato.
mean, towards the end of PL, legitimately, he was probably doing 4 or 5 jobs. I mean, he was anything that we needed done that one of us wasn't actively doing, it would go to Fatal, and it would just he would do it all. I mean, he was a Swiss Army knife, and that kid's gonna go far. Like, he will go
He's
far
gonna
in
go
whatever
far
he
in a
does
management sense. I think he'll
for
go
sure.
very far in a management sense.
Because he just gets shit done, and if he doesn't know how to do it, he'll learn or he'll push people or
Bro,
he'll whatever. I mean,
being on UE with him, I've already seen him get mad at people. Like it
yeah.
hasn't even been that long, but he gets mad at people,
And he's
specifically
15.
like
I mean,
editors
like
and shit.
he's got that grind
Yeah.
set at such a young age too. I mean, by the time he graduates high school, he'll have more experience than most people in the esports scene, doing what he does. I mean,
More importantly,
he's
more
just
people in his age group in
yeah.
general.
Oh, for sure. Oh, dude,
Yeah.
like in terms of like high school graduates at that time, like if I'm high, like if I'm in a position where I'm hiring in 4 or 5 years for whatever I'm doing, Fatal is first up. Like it's not even
Yeah.
close. I don't care who the kid is. I know that kid. I know his work ethic, and I know he's only going to go up from here. Like
Yeah.
I just know that he's already got stuff ingrained in him. He's got discipline and stuff like that.
And
And
he's
I
he's
like
even come to that esports realization. Like he's done with esports for the time
yeah
being. He just wants to work on other shit that he's more
yeah,
passionate about.
which is
He's
fine.
rebranded to his real name.
I'll
Like
get
all
him
this
back
shit.
into esports. Don't you worry. I will eventually. I promise you that I will work with him again. I don't care what it is or when it is. I promise you that Fatal and I will be back together.
I
Eventually,
think he'll do something big in whatever scene he goes to.
for sure. Oh,
But
absolutely. I mean, he's just one of those
yeah.
kids where you can tell he's going to work out. Um, but yeah, I mean, so a lot has happened to us. We've grown a lot. I think it's been exciting. I've seen you kind of mature, and I think that like that college transition is a big thing. I think that like for you
I
it's
think
uni.
yeah, that uni transition from the small things like just having to pay certain things off myself, or even just
Yeah.
like realizing that I'm now an adult, where it's like
Exactly.
my
That's what I
parents
was.
still have control on me in the sense that I live in their home, like I'm
Yeah.
their kid, but in the
It's
sense that
different
I'm
though.
an
It's
adult making
completely
my own
different.
decisions.
Yep.
Like one of the biggest things is like I choose when I can skip school or not. Like no
Yeah.
one's gonna know. No
No,
one
there
has to
is,
know.
dude. There's a mental switch that happens the second you get into college, and it doesn't matter if you live with your parents or not. It is just it's a mental switch that goes off where
It's a
like all of a
realization of being an
sudden
adult.
no, it is, and college is perfect for it because you're responsible for your academics. Your parents really don't touch it. You're like it's all you. Like they can check in, say how you're doing. You could just lie your ass off though, and like I know I have in several instances in the past to get my mom off my ass. Because I know that I'm going to pass by the end of the semester, regardless of what my grades are at the midterm.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
things of that nature. But when you're responsible for something like that, and you can see the foresight of what happens if I don't pass this class, well, I have to take another semester, I have to take this class again, and I have to pay for it. Like all of that, you start seeing that. Like I mean, mature people do this already in high school, but it forces you, whether you have in the past or not, to start thinking about the consequences of your decisions. And that's where you become an adult, is when you can have the foresight to go, oh, fuck, I can't choose to do this because it'll fuck me up. If I miss class today, will it be a big thing or not? Oh, I have lectures. Okay, I can miss lectures. Oh, I have a midterm. Can't miss that shit. Get your ass out of bed. Let's go. There's a mental switch
Even
where
if you
you
really are
start
like
to
a kid, like you don't like school and shit.
Yeah.
Like your adult side will come out and be like, "Yo,
Oh yeah.
you gotta
Oh,
see up a little bit."
it doesn't matter how much of a bum you are. The 2 days that you always show up for are your midterm and your final. It does not matter. Like even the most degenerate bums in college will always show up on those days. I promise you. Just look at any class; it will happen. Otherwise, they are dropping out. If you're not showing up on those days, you are dropping out. I like. I'm making a generalization, but I'm right 99.97% of the time on this particular thing because that's just how it goes. Is you have to you are forced to start taking responsibility.
I'm happy that my field for university is not a hard one. Like if I was in like, let's say I was in like fucking like I don't even know, like even business, bro. Like I think my time would be taken up way more. Like with cinema and media arts right now, first year, I actually don't have a very big time constraint on assignments. Like I don't
Mm.
have any midterms. I don't have any exams. Thank God
Yeah,
I
that's
have a
huge.
1 month winter break. It's huge.
Yeah,
Like I
that's
can get so
awesome.
much shit done,
Yeah.
and I just don't have a massive time restraint on university as much as I
Yeah.
thought I would have entering it. But honestly, like my experience in uni has been good so far. Even though I haven't like made a lot of friends, quote unquote, a lot
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
university. I haven't made that many connections. I guess not. Like it's hard in my uni at least. Um,
Yeah.
I think for me, it's like I'm still getting that experience. Like I'm learning new shit about like video production. I'm learning new shit about
Yeah.
editing that I didn't
Yeah.
know, and that's kind of my goal for university. Like at the end of the day, I probably will end up with a degree that I'm most likely not going to use,
Yeah.
but it's learning, getting the experience from that degree and taking it for the next 4 years and learning what's new, what's not new.
Yeah.
How to take this into my own content. What do I not use in my content? What do I remove? All
Yeah.
that shit. You know
I'm
what I
in the
mean?
same. I'm in the same boat. I mean, with almost everything that you said, I'm taking the minimum amount of classes to be considered a full time student. That's
Yeah.
one thing. So it's going to take me 4.5 years to graduate, as opposed to four.
Mm.
Which, luckily, I mean, I'm very fortunate to be in a position where my parents saved for college since I was a kid. I have a good
Same.
college fund, and I'm going to graduate debt free. Which
I
is
will forever be grateful that I have a wealthy family in the sense
mm,
that they can pay my university degree and actually like consistently
yeah.
be financially stable, and they don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, right. And just, so that like you said about having time on your plate. If I was taking another class a semester, everything would be different. I would not be able to do half the shit that I'm doing. I wouldn't be able to dedicate a lot of my time to content like I do.
Mhm.
It is like the perfect balance for me right now where I'm able to get school done at a reasonable
Yeah,
pace, but I also don't feel like it's like taking over everything else in my life. Um, and that's
yeah,
been a blessing for sure. And a lot of people in the esports space don't have that, and I'm very aware of that,
oh
and
yeah,
I'm very gracious that I'm in the position that I'm in for that.
yeah, for sure. I think
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
I just think that people, I think in general, whether you're in school or not, people just don't take gratuity for the how much time they actually have, whether you're younger
for
or
sure,
older.
for sure.
Like just
People
if you
don't
can
realize how much
complain
time they
about
waste.
you can complain about the shit that you have to spend time on or shit that's time consuming. Like if anything in university, for me at least, not for others, for me it's like shit is just time consuming. It's not hard,
Yeah,
it's just
yeah,
time consuming.
absolutely.
But
Yeah,
for others that like, in still high school, they're complaining about the little things that take away their time. I'm like,
mm.
bro, just work with the time you have then. Stop
Yeah.
complaining if you can't change it. Work
No,
with
I
what
mean
you
you do.
have.
It's like
It's
people are like,
it's the saying like you're dealt certain cards in life, work with them rather
yeah.
than complaining
I mean
about
you
them.
have to. There's nothing else that you
You
can
have to.
do. I
There's nothing you
mean,
else can
yeah,
do. If you grow up in a family that's not fortunate, that's just a card that's been played. You
yeah,
can't complain about it. You can't change. You personally
yeah.
cannot change that. You just have to work with it. Like you have to
Exactly.
work your
No,
best around it.
and me as a person who, on paper has been dealt better cards than most people,
Exact same.
I take
Yeah,
advantage
exactly.
of that. I understand that I have that better than other people, and I make it a point to make the most of it for that
Yeah.
sake. Because if I have it, it's more disrespectful or it's more stupid not to use it, and that's what I get upset
1,000%.
about. Is like people who have those opportunities, people who have those privileges in place that don't take advantage of them.
Yeah.
That is just, I mean,
1,000%.
shame on you. I
I
guess it's like,
just yeah.
and yeah, I'm appreciative of the time I have too. Like for example, the time to play the OG season.
Yeah.
W segue there. So
W segue. W segue.
I I'm actually really happy with Epic and how they've executed on this season. I
I
thought
think
it.
that I think there's still more for them to do, but there's also like they're going in the right foot right now.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the ways that they could have done this season, like for example, I've said for a long time that they should not bring back the OG map, and if they did, it should not be longer than a week because of like fatigue, because people will get bored with that map so quickly. They think they
Mhm.
won't, but I guarantee you they will.
Yeah.
People have this nostalgic bias. They think they think they remember that time as the best that Fortnite has ever been, but they also fail to forget or fail to remember that at the end of chapter 1, we were begging Epic for a new map. We were begging them to get off of that chapter 1 map because we had played thousands upon thousands of hours of that map. We knew it inside and out. We knew every rock, every hill, every blade of grass. And we were like, we are so tired of this. The game feels so repetitive. It does not matter what you do. I mean, Season X was insane. They were making weekly changes. They were changing all the POIs to have a gimmick. I mean, Season X from a content perspective was the most you've ever had to adapt to in terms of a singular season. Like, because it was not just the whole update, which was insane, all of the meta and the loot pool and all that, but you also had POIs changing weekly. You know, you had the Borderlands POI, which had a tick up shield. You had the no builds POI in Tilted Town or whatever. Yeah, so it's like, and you had that changing week by week. That was still a point in the game where Epic was having a content update every week, a new weapon or a new, you know, whatever. But we were begging for a new map. So I'm like, okay, if they ever go back to the new map, either in like I thought it was going to be an LTM that they would bring back the old map on. It has to be like an LTM where you can choose to not play on the old map, or it has to be like a week. That's it. And that's exactly what they've done. Yeah. And the way that they executed it was perfect, because I thought, oh, they're going to go back to one season. And I thought it was interesting that the season that they would have chosen was Chapter 1, Season 5, because I was like, that was, in my opinion, the beginning of Epic kind of getting their formula for what makes a successful Fortnite season. Massive biome change. The rifts were a really cool mechanic. Vehicles. A lot of, and then that was really when the loot pool kind of began to become diverse. You started really seeing interesting weapons come into play, and things of that nature. But it was still relatively bland compared to late Chapter 1. Like, it was when they kind of started to get that formula down, but they wasn't quite there. So I was like, wow, really? We're going to get a month of that? And then it's like, oh, it progresses through the prime of Chapter
like
1.
Season 7's in what, 2 days now?
Yeah,
and
it could, like, from that perspective, for them to follow through with this idea, it is the perfect execution, in my opinion. The only better thing would have been Siphon, but that's kind of an overall game thing. That's not.
But yeah.
But that's
this is I'd rather like Epic do things perfectly on the side of like bringing shit in for us, rather than in the game where they're bringing in certain features. Like, bring enjoyment to the content creators, not because people, at the end of the day, when you get off the game, you're not going to care about Siphon. But when you get off the game, you're going to be like, I'm bored because of how long I've been playing this,
right.
how long I've been doing the most competitive shit. It's not going to be.
You'd rather rage off because you die in a stupid way and then get back on in a few hours, or get back on the next day, than play for 12 hours but be bored. I mean, you know, it's like, okay. Because when you're bored with the game, you start to resent it. Whereas when you're angry with the game, that fades and you want to play it again at some point. You know, it's like,
exactly.
Yeah.
I think, and Epic actually, like, I don't know if many people realize it, but Epic is still catering towards the content and the competitive community.
For sure.
Like, they're still, bro, they made every tournament for every rank, first of all. Secondly, they're doing squads tournaments again.
Yeah.
And then thirdly, they're keeping mantling and sprinting, which God knows that came way too late.
That was another big thing about the execution of this season that I was so happy about. Because
like, I don't like the concept of mantling, because I just think like it makes fights a little easier for kids that are low ground and shit like that. But at the same time, people have already catered towards it. Like, people have already, you know,
once we've had it in the game, once it's become part of the quality of life of the game, you cannot strip the player base of that. And so I was really scared, because the leakers were saying that they were going to remove mantling, sprinting, and sliding.
I remember.
And I was really scared about that, because I was like, it's going to feel terrible. We think it's what we want, but it isn't, because it's not going to feel natural, because we played the game now for so long. It's the more recent muscle memory. It's the more recent thing that we've become accustomed to. Yeah. It's ingrained in our gameplay. It's ingrained in who we are now, both in zero build and in builds. You can't rid us of it, and it feels so natural. It plays so well. The OG season, I really like. The only complaint I have about the OG season is the lack of Siphon, because but that's an overall Epic issue. That was happening before the OG season. It will probably continue to happen after the OG season. So really, like,
I'll give it one more: Siphon and explosives. That's the only thing.
Yes, the grenade launcher is unbelievably stupid.
Busted. Why does it explode right away, bro? It doesn't make sense. Okay.
Well, the one bounce thing was one of the iterations of I think that was the last time the grenade launcher was in the game. I just don't. The player base wasn't near as good as they are now when that was the case. So it's just like, we know how to utilize it better. We're just better players. We have like, dude, like using it for like wall takes, or using it like bouncing it off a wall to be able to take like a double edit, or just like, you know, full piecing someone and then just shooting grenades in the corner of the box. Like, it's stupid. It's unbelievably broken for where the player base and the skill cap are at now. But overall, I think it's a really good execution. I'm really happy with how Epic has played it out, and we've seen the numbers support that too.
Oh,
Everyone is happy
bro,
right now.
Fortnite had what 800K viewers the other day when
Yeah.
CS dropped. I'm pretty
Yep.
sure.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
it was the number one viewed. It's been the number one viewed
since the OG
category
season,
on Twitch. Yeah, basically the entire time the OG season's been out, we had the
which
highest
makes sense.
amount
Which
of
realistically makes sense.
we had the new highest amount of concurrent players ever.
5.5. Yeah,
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 which
yeah.
is it. No, it got to 6.5,
No, did
6.7,
it?
something like that at one point. Yeah, 6.7
Fuck.
million people across the globe were playing Fortnite at the exact same time. I mean that it was 44.5 unique players in a 24-hour
Yeah.
span or something like that. Absolutely insane. I mean that is just that's unprecedented numbers. And you know, people who were saying Fortnite fell off or whatever, we are 6 years into this game, which most games don't maintain any amount of relevancy that long.
Yep.
And
That's true.
it's continuing to break records that it previously set. It is in its own category. It has changed the world. I don't care what anyone says. It's changed the world. It's changed the gaming industry.
It has.
It's changed
100%.
the PC industry. Fortnite has had a ripple effect that will affect generations to come, and that is not an exaggeration. I know people diss on it for being a kids game or whatever, but like when you look at what it has done for the creative scene, for the creator economy, for, you know, esports as a whole, for media, for all of that stuff, it is absolutely the most impactful game of all time, hands down. With that being said, go ahead.
I just think one thing is that I think people, when they say the game is bad, they focus way too much on the factor of the game being bad rather than thinking about, oh, this game has been in development for 6 years. There's not a lot of new ideas we can base off of. What the fuck do we compete in this game?
Yeah.
Because when you try to put something new in the game, does it take away from the basic features of the game that are needed, the essential features of the game that are needed? People don't focus on that. They just think because the game has become repetitive, they're gonna think about that in Valorant in the next year and a half, bro.
Yeah.
It's just like the game.
I mean,
is the exact
Val
same
is kind of in its decrease already. It's not at its peak anymore, and that
right.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
Exactly my point is that you can't take away the essential features of a game if you're bringing in new shit, because you need to adapt those features. Because if you take away the essential features, how the fuck are we gonna play the game? It's not gonna feel like the same. They fucked that shit up when they did it with RuneScape. When they changed everything in RuneScape because they wanted to cater towards a new community. Nobody continued playing the game
because your game's identity is lost. I mean, I've said that about the pump being in the game forever. And they've I mean, I'm surprised that they did as well as they did. I mean, they kind of just made all these pump alternatives, but like the pump being in the game and then building and editing were like, if you ever mess with any of those, you will not have Fortnite anymore. Yeah, that's what makes Fortnite Fortnite. Like, yes, you have a lot of other things like there. I'd say like that's the top tier. You have like secondary and tertiary things where it's like, okay, live events, probably a tertiary thing. It's part of what makes Fortnite's identity unique, but it's not like, if you take it out, which they have done, it's not the absolute deal breaker. Like Fortnite is still Fortnite without the live events.
It doesn't make as big of an impact as building and editing would.
Right. Secondary things is like, you know, certain graphics or things of that nature where it's like, it makes it more Fortnite when they are in the game, but it's not Fortnite if it's not. There is a tier of things, and you can argue what deserves to be in there and what doesn't, but every game has that. Every game has identity things, mechanics, characters, whatever it is, that if you take them out, it is no longer that game. It is some other, you know, mockery or transmutation of that game.
The three key features of the specific battle royale that Fortnite is that you build, you shoot, and you edit. And that editing feature and the building feature are the two biggest things. Not even the shooting feature. The two biggest things. Because BR, when you think it's like BR, battle royale shooting, that's what it is. That's it. It's an FPS game.
It's a shooter at the end of the day.
It's a shooting game. But when you think Fortnite, you think, oh, you build in this game, you edit in this game, shit like that. You shoot because you're able to build and edit.
Fortnite is in the battle royale genre, but it is in its own subcategory by far.
Exactly.
It's not like you can put Apex, Warzone, H1, you can put a lot of BRs in the same category and just say each one kind of has its own key like mechanic or characteristic that deviates it from the normal. Like Apex, obviously it's the character shooter aspect of it. You know, it's the fact that you have unique characters that make unique team comps that all have unique abilities. So the way you combine them and utilize those things is what makes it unique compared to a COD or compared to H1 or whatever.
Exactly.
But Fortnite is in its own category of its own because it's by far the most unique mechanics that we've ever seen
By
in any
far.
shooter
I'd
ever.
probably say the
Maybe in
least,
a
bro.
game. I think the only game really that I would say is on par in terms of unique mechanics is Portal. I think the Portal
Mm,
games are
mm.
unbelievably cool. I don't think
The
any
game
game.
had potential if people actually
It really
cared about it.
did. Oh, for
It had
sure.
potential, and then it died. It died. It
And
realistically
it's really
died.
unfortunate because I think if you released Splitgate now, it would have done better because Splitgate was
Mm,
released right in the height of the BR hype. Everyone was making
yeah.
battle royales. I mean, even the Halo Infinite flopped because of it not having a battle royale because people were saying, "Oh, it's going to have a battle royale," which I don't think the developer ever said that like
It was
anything
gonna have
about
about
it.
it. No,
Like
I
there
don't
was
think
never
it
an
did.
expectation, but the community imprinted that expectation onto it, and that's why Halo Infinite didn't do well. It's a great
Yeah.
game. I love it. It's really fun. I loved playing it. I played it for probably the first 2 months that it was out, and I stopped playing it only because there was nobody playing the game. I could never play with anyone, or nobody. Like everyone would be like, "Why are you playing this game? It's dead. It's whatever." Like, and I still touch it from time to time, and I still watch competitive Halo. Um, but it did it. There
Yeah.
was an expectation of BR. I remember Nick Merck's tweet specifically, like if there's not a BR, I just won't play the new Halo, and it got like it was like 20K likes or something, and
Mm.
so everyone was like agreeing with this sentiment, and then it released and it didn't have a BR, and everyone was like, oh man, like so it was
That's
just
just tough.
an unfortunate time in gaming because like really, and I've said this before, this is a controversial take, but the BR is not what makes Fortnite. It really isn't. Fortnite
It
could be
isn't.
just as good as a game if it had like the COD game modes, for example, domination and team deathmatch and all of that stuff. I really believe that full heartedly, and that's why things like
100%.
the BFC have been so popular and get
Oh
the viewership that they
yeah,
do.
bro.
I mean, Zone Wars is like a separate part of the Fortnite community that gets its own similar viewership to the battle royale. It
Mhm.
really is not this
Well,
like
because you're putting
outlandish
the
thing.
top creators and the most competitive creators all together and
And you're
fighting all
removing
each
all
other.
of the other aspects of a VR, and you're just isolating the exciting part, which is the fighting. It is
Mhm.
the most high octane. It's repeatable. It's like
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
The
for
one
me
the one
personally,
bad thing about Fortnite would have to be that it's so like 25 minutes, 30 minutes for a game to finish.
yeah, no, exactly.
And that mid game is the most boring part.
And there are times, honestly, where I'm playing Fortnite where I go, I am so sick of landing, looting, of like early and mid game. I'm so sick of it. Like, there are times where I just do not want to play the game at all because of that aspect. I hate
Because of
off
those just 10
spawn.
minutes
I
per game,
hate,
bro.
no, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, especially if you like get one of those streaks where you die off spawn like 6 or 7 times in a row, or like, the first 5 minutes
Where
of
you
a
just want
game
to
where
get
you just
off
like, you don't
and
even
just
have a whole loadout yet. It's like, dude,
yeah.
like just let me fight people with a full loadout where it's actually a fair fight and it's not based on RNG. Like, and that's what Zone Wars is, right? It's like,
Mhm.
here's the
Everybody's
perfect loadout.
yeah.
Everybody's on an even playing field. Just go fight with your abilities. It takes out all the RNG and it says who's better in this moment, right? And that's what's exciting about it, and that's what makes it's fast. It's just the exciting parts, and it's repeatable. You can just, I
And
mean,
there's nothing players can complain about in zone wars or box fights. It's
right.
if you're complaining, you're just worse,
It's
realistically
just a
speaking.
skill issue,
You're just
legitimately
it's just a
speaking,
skill.
right?
It's just a skill issue.
Exactly,
Exactly.
and that's why people love watching tokens, because it is
Mhm.
the best fighters in the world going up against each other. Who's going to win? Pure skill. That's it. And
People
it's like,
to this day, Zone Wars hasn't had the peak that it's had since like before, like in chapter 2 or chapter 1. But people to this day, Orc specifically, still make Zone Wars videos.
right,
Who will win this 2v2?
right,
Who will win
right.
this 1v1?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's that is the purest way to test who is better at
Mhm.
something. It
And when you
is.
get two people that are at their peak of their career right now, or reaching the peak of their career, like
Yeah.
let's say you get a Cooper and you get a fucking some other kid that's been doing fucking amazing. You put
Yep.
those two players together and you just say 1v1 zone war.
Yeah.
And people are gonna want to see who's actually better, who carried who
Absolutely.
fucking did all
Or
this
who's the
shit.
better fighter. Now, it won't necessarily say who's the better comp player, but it'll say who's the better fighter. And that's what
Who's
people
the better
really
fighter?
want to know, right? Like that's the
Yeah.
more exciting thing. Now, you can make a resub video on the analytics of who's the better player overall, but in
Yeah.
terms of what do kids want to watch right now, they want to watch 10 minutes of Cooper absolutely shitting on Sphinx or whoever it is, or vice versa,
Yeah.
or whatever. Who's going to win, for sure. So part of this OG season coming back is
Yeah.
there have been rumors, there have been leaks. I don't know if you've seen these, that potentially we could be staying on the old map and basically doing this
For chapter 5.
recycle.
Mm.
Yeah. But I've seen a chapter 5 leaked map, but people are saying
I
that.
saw that too.
So I don't know if that's a concept. I don't know if Epic is deciding, which Epic has made drastic turns before. Chapter 3 being 4 seasons was absolutely not the original plan. I will still stick by that to the day I die.
I think it was supposed to be 8. I think it was supposed to be 8
Yeah,
minimum.
because you have a chapter that's 10, then a chapter that's 8, then a chapter that's 4, and now you have one that's 5. I mean, it's like there has been literally zero
They're
consistency.
just adapting. Realistically,
Exactly.
they're just adapting to what
They had an entire continued storyline for chapter 3, but people were sick of the map, they were sick of the meta, they were sick of the loot pools, and they were like, yeah, we hate this. And Epic was like, okay, it's time for a change now. And chapter 4 was way better than chapter 3. It actually did revive and refresh a lot of the game. The chapter 4 map is so much better. I love it so much more. The red dot ARs are so much better.
I think the most underrated hype of this game that could easily be considered one of the top 3 hype moments, and I'll still say this forever, is that Chapter 2 Season 8 finish to the Chapter 3 Season 1 beginning. That
The flipping event? Yes. I agree.
The flipping, and also the fact that they brought so much new shit. We didn't know what the fuck to do with it.
Well,
they didn't take away any
especially in contrast to the Chapter 1 to Chapter 2 change, because that was the most underwhelming, terrible season release in Fortnite history. I mean, you had the most exciting social media gaming event of all time with that black hole event. I mean, people were fiending, bro. I wasn't even on Twitter at that time, and I know that Twitter was going crazy because I was looking at people's streams who were looking at Twitter, and like the absolute massacre that this was. I mean, I was actually having withdrawals during the black hole. I promise you, I was shaking. I was like, I need Fortnite back. Like, I mean, every stream had, 20, 30K. I remember I had Courage, Ninja, Tim, and like I had a whole array of creators up because I did not want to miss a single moment, a single opinion, whatever of this thing. And then the chapter 2 releases, and it is the most bland fucking season of all time.
Didn't it last for 6 months?
It felt like it. No, it was 3 or 4 months.
It was 6. And
was it 6 months?
It was 6, and then Chapter 2 Season 2 was Midas season. That was 3 because the summer season came out.
Dude, it felt like years. I like that season felt like years, and it was
the game still had their hype was because the creators that still stuck around during that time and waited for the next season.
But it died off so much. I mean, that was when a lot of the people initially began to quit. Was that that dead zone?
Yeah.
But
that beginning of Chapter 2, that was when like
the Chapter 3 release. Because they did it had the whole it was similar to the black hole concept, right? You had the Jonesy drifting in the water, and everyone's just like, what's going on? Like, when is it gonna come back up? Like that
fucking flipped the whole thing. And
that was insane.
Like,
no, that event was insane. It really was. It was so good.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, I'd be really interested to see if we stay on that OG map because I don't think that will be good. I do not think that would be healthy for the game. It would. I really hope that we do. People think that it would be good because they're like, oh, like, yeah, we go back and then we do it differently than we did before, which they talked about that for Chapter 4, I think, was that concept was teased around.
I don't know.
Where it was like, oh, we're going back to the Chapter 1 map and then we're gonna go through it differently again. Or no, it was actually the end of Chapter 1. People thought that we were going to go back to Season 1 through the whole like Rocket Rift event thing. And the black hole, that it was going to reset time and we were going to go through a different timeline with different seasons. That would have been cool. I actually like that they did a different map. It's a good thing. And I like that that's the standard now. A new year, new chapter, new map. I like that. They need to keep that, in my opinion. But yeah, I hope we go, like, I hope that the League Chapter 5 map is the one that we stick with. I hope we go on it. It actually looks really good. Like, it looks,
it does look kind of pretty big.
The POI spread looks good. I like that we have the what was that place in Chapter 2 where Midas's gun was, like, right in the middle of the water?
Oh, fuck. Agency.
Yeah, I was going to say Authority. Was it the Authority at one point?
Authority was the third one.
Okay.
So
yeah,
Agency
I
was
couldn't remember all the
Chapter
names,
2,
but the big-ass castle bunkered whatever place in the middle. Yeah. Which that was a super underrated season. The first heist season was really good.
1,000%. I fucking love that season. That was the first season that came back.
I hated the charge. That was my big gripe with it. I hate the charge shotgun with everything.
Now I love it. I hated it before. Now I love it.
I like it in zero builds. I like it. I really like it in zero builds, but I don't like it in the normal game. And I have my reasons for that. I rant about it all the time.
I think the concept with Fortnite is that people just think that bringing back nostalgia, they get caught up in the moment of nostalgia
Yes.
rather than thinking about long term.
Nostalgic bias
Right?
is a massive thing, especially when it comes to Fortnite, and that's what I'm
In
saying.
Fortnite
Like,
specifically, bro.
yes,
Specifically,
because
bro.
the peak of Fortnite was probably the most influential time in gaming of all time. I understand. Like, trust me, I get it. When I hear that 2017 Christmas music, da, 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 like, I know, bro. I get that like tingle in my body.
That
I'm like,
tingle,
holy
bro.
shit, dude. Like that original season 7 Christmas season was out of this world. I know that. Like, I get it. But and Joe Bartolozzi has a famous TikTok audio talking about this specifically. You don't miss that season. You don't miss the loophole. You don't miss the game. You miss how you felt and how life was during that time. Life was more simplistic. Life was easy. All that you had to worry about was getting Fortnite wins. Like, yes, the meta and the season and all that were good, but you're making them out to be perfect because of you miss that time. You miss that time of less responsibility, or
and it's also that most of the audience that complains nowadays are around my age, if not a little younger.
Yeah.
So back then in that time, what 4 years, fucking 4
Yeah.
years ago, they're like 7th grade, 6th grade. What fucking problems did they have
Exactly.
other than not getting their Fortnite win?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is that was the biggest issue on your mind at the time. You didn't have to
life problems and like personal problems and shit that they didn't have to go through.
Yeah,
to
you missed the simplicity
Fortnite.
of life. You missed how, you missed the lack of responsibility. You miss all that stuff. And that's what people are trying to get back, but they don't realize that. They think if you recreate the same conditions that it's going to bring back that same feeling. It's
bro,
not.
Your fucking bills are going to still need to be paid, bro. Like, fuck.
Exactly. You are different. You are different. You've grown up, and that you can't get that back. Yeah, it is. Yeah, you can try to recreate it. It'll never be the same. And people who try to live in the past just make a shitty future for themselves. That's just how it is, and that's so like, but so the OG season is great. Actually, I was thinking about a lot of that, and I was thinking about all the creators that have come back. And we've been watching a lot of them. I mean, Courage JD, Tim the Tatman, Dr. Lupo.
Fuck, bro, those names just to say are so fucking like.
But dude, I mean,
Lupo, bro.
Dude, Tim the Tatman was one of the biggest people that first got me into content creation. I remember like watching Tim, and I remember watching one of his very first YouTube videos about being a Christian and about being a Christian creator, and that was big for me. And I remember like watching this whole, like he explained all his tattoos, and one of them was like about his dad and about God and all that stuff. And that was massive for me to see myself in another creator and to see myself in somebody who had succeeded at his level was one of the reasons that I went, damn, maybe I can do this too. So, Tim, if you ever listen to this or if you're ever watching, you really were like one of the first reasons that I got into content creation. So thank you. But I ended up going down this rabbit hole, and I ended up watching Tifu's goodbye video. And that was, and that brought me back to kind of that epiphany that I was talking about earlier, of like, what do you want to leave as a creator? What do you want your legacy to be? Because I thought about, damn, dude, Tifu had a bigger impact on my life than I thought. Because watching that, like, it actually made me emotional, and it made me like he's not a role model in the traditional sense, you know what I mean? But like him being entertaining, him being who he was, me watching his videos at a different time in my life, thinking about who I was then, I was like, damn, I want to be a better person because of that. Like, go ahead.
You can say that for creators in any niche, though. Like, as much as it's Fortnite, like for us, it's Fortnite, and that's how we see it.
Yeah,
like,
I'm talking overall for sure.
Yeah, like if you KSI is not your traditional fucking role model when it comes to the shit he says and the shit he fucking posts out. But when it comes to making someone laugh, or when it comes to making someone happy, or like being able to sit down, watch his videos, whatever the fuck it is, that's the role model he brings. That positivity, that vibe, that like let go, quote unquote, let
legacy doesn't have to be the pulpit that you preach from. Now that's a lot more my alley. That's a lot of the stuff I do is very explicit in this is how I want you to live. I'm trying to inspire people to be a specific way. But a lot of people, like, if you're just bringing light to somebody's life, that is equally as valuable. It's a different type of inspiration, but it's absolutely there.
1000%.
But that, I mean, dude, like that Tifu thing got me thinking about like what I tweeted about. Like, what do I want to leave? How do I want to do the things that I do in content creation? Because I want the day that I leave content creation or whatever, right? Or the day that I die. Hopefully those are the same day. I want people to think about me the same way that I think about Tifu. and how he impacted my life in a positive way just by entertaining me, just by being the person that I watched and looked up to in the game. And just in general, so that brings me to my last one. And I bet you were a little confused when I said I wanted to talk about Mark Cuban.
Partially, partially not.
Do you know who Mark Cuban is?
Yeah,
The owner, billionaire, owner of the Dallas Mavericks.
Dallas
Yeah.
Mavericks. Yep.
Yeah. So I've been watching a lot of Impulsive recently, which I didn't expect. Like, I was just watching podcasts in general, and I was like, who are the most known podcasts that I can think of? So I listened to a lot of Joe Rogan. I listened to a lot of Theo Vaughn, and then I started listening to Impulsive. I said, you know what? Let me go see how Logan Paul runs and does a podcast. So I watched his Laserbeam episode, which Laserbeam is just like, that's my OG. That's like,
I love that dude, bro.
That's probably the guy that I would freak out most about, like, meeting. Like, I would absolutely still fanboy for Laserbeam for sure.
And he'd call you a fucking loser for it.
Yeah. He'd be like, "Don't fucking look up to me." Like, I'm, I hope I get to do a Laserbeam impression to Laserbeam someday. But no, like that was the biggest thing about Mark Cuban's episode is like, dude, he has taken his platform and he's done something absolutely unbelievable with it. He's one of the most real, down-to-earth billionaires that I could ever think of. I mean, he talks about, like, yes, billionaires should pay hella taxes to pay for public commodities. He has a whole business about... So basically, he started this business in the pharmaceutical business where I think it's... is it cost plus drugs? I think that's what it is. So essentially, the whole premise of the business is to undermine big pharma. So there's a massive problem here in the U.S. where pharmaceutical drugs are like unbelievably uppriced. I mean, I'm sure you saw like the whole like Pfizer insulin thing when somebody fake changed the price and Pfizer went down like massive percent in the stock market, whatever. So he started this business where every drug that he buys for this company, they show on their website the cost that it took, the cost of them to buy the drug, then they upmark that by 15%, and that's what they sell it for. So, I mean, there are medicines out there, like there was a cancer medicine, for example, that was costing somebody $400 plus a month, and they could get it through his business for like $31 or whatever it was. So basically making, these life-saving drugs affordable and undermining the robbery that is big pharma. And that's just like, when I think about who I want to be, the legacy I want to leave, the impact that I want to have on people's lives, Mark Cuban is one of the big people that comes to mind for that reason. And that kind of, again, leads me to this whole epiphany. I had to kind of remind myself of like, I don't want to do this whole content creation thing if I don't do it while maintaining my character and if I don't do it the way that I want to do it. I'd rather try the way that I want to try and be unsuccessful and go do it somewhere else or do another job or whatever than just be successful for success's sake. Because I know people that are doing these methods, I mean, or you have people that are even further than them. You have people doing like the Temu scams or like, that are making like,
hell, though. I hate that shit.
Or like, the kids content that's very manipulative or misleading or any of that stuff, and that's like, and
numbers.
There's nuance to it for sure. I mean, not all kids content is bad, for example, just to like, I'm not saying that everyone who makes kid targeted content is a bad person or anything, but there are people who are strictly doing it for the sake of milking kids out of money. You know what I mean? Like all that stuff. So it's just like,
you could tell it. You could just tell it from the content, the person.
Yeah.
If
for
you knew
sure.
that content creator before they did this shit, you can tell the difference.
Yeah. And that's just, so thinking about, I want to be a Mark Cuban where if I'm going to be successful, it's going to be in paving a new path, not by walking the one that's already made. And I think that's something that we need more in the esports scene, in the content creator scene, and in the world. I mean, legitimately, too many people allow themselves to follow the path that they feel has been laid out for them, and they feel like there's rail guards on them to have to walk down this path. And I've talked to people with that mindset where, even in content creation, where they think the only way that they can be successful is by using people, is by being selfish, is by, clout chasing or whatever. And I'm going, I mean, yeah, you can be, and it's actually easier to be, but what are you sacrificing to do that? Are you, you're sacrificing your character, you're sacrificing your morals for what? Right? I mean, I don't care if I have 80 billion followers, across all my platforms one day. If I was a terrible person and I cheated and lied people, all of that to get there, what does it mean? It means nothing to me. And I think that's what people have to ask themselves at the end of the day. And that's kind of what my whole epiphany was about is, yeah, I'm going to give this an honest, genuine shot. Like for TikTok content, that was a big thing for me. Like I found myself more and more like, oh, I got to make it more like this person who's doing well. And then I'm like, wait, that's not me though. Like that's not authentic to who I am. Or I'm like, and there's a fine line because there are tricks that I've learned from people. Like for example, Bronos is a big like mentor of mine when it comes to TikTok because he's killing it.
He just knows a lot. He just knows.
Yeah, and like one of the tips that he gave me was like, hey, like face cam just doesn't do well. Like it's so much easier to just have like a faceless channel essentially where you're just doing voiceovers. So I tried it, and every video that I've had since then has done better. I'm like, okay, all right, so I'm sticking with that. That's a trick. I'm not selling any morals, to do no face cam. But there are people out there who are doing things that are, they're just doing it like they're not passionate about it or they don't want to be doing it, and they're just doing it for the sake of getting the numbers and trying to get to some success. For income or to validate themselves. That's the biggest thing that I see, I think, in the content creation scene is the people who are in it to try and validate themselves by some external means. Well, if 1.8 million people follow me on TikTok, that must mean that I'm valuable as a person, right? That's kind of the idea going through their head. And it's like, the biggest thing about validation is it has to come from within. It cannot come from an external source. If it comes from an external source, you are always chasing the next thing.
It's that saying of you shouldn't let other people's opinions affect you.
Right.
You should just kind of base it off your own thoughts and perspectives. Because I guess at the end of the day, everybody's different. Like the people that watch your content, they're not 1.8 million of the same fucking individuals.
Right.
They're 1.8 different people in this world.
And you shouldn't view them as just a number. You should realize that is 1.8 million unique individuals that all have different backgrounds, beliefs, experiences, whatever, that you are impacting. And that's the glorious thing about it. And that's the glorious thing about content creation to me is that there is someone there for everyone, both as a viewer and as a creator. There is an audience for every creator. I genuinely believe that. Now, how big that is and who they are and how easy it is to reach them, those are different things, for sure. There are people that are just more universally likable. Their platform is just more universally acceptable. But there is someone out there for everyone, both as a viewer and as a creator. And that's your job as a creator to me. And that's the glory of it, is you get to solve the puzzle of who are my people? How can I reach them? And all that stuff. And that's what I kind of had to remind myself of is I don't want to be like all these other people, even though they're seeing a lot of success. And that was what I got caught up in is I saw their numbers and I saw their revenue and I saw all that stuff. And I'm like, well, I'm trying to make this a career, so I got to do what they're doing. But I was slowly like losing a lot of myself in that content or in that pursuit. And I kind of had to recenter to go, okay, I need to make what I'm passionate about. I need to make the content that says me, because at the end of the day, that's what I want to be a career, is me, not some character that I make or not the content that I cater to what I think is going to be successful or hit algorithm. And that's a hard decision to make, because you are saying I'm going to put more obstacles in my way, but it's not just doing it for no reason. It's putting more obstacles in your way because then if you succeed, you've done it right. And that's what people lack out on.
Yeah. I think I saw, who was it? Yeah, Logan Paul. Logan Paul, I think, was asked a question by, I think it was during his fight when he had his fight against, who the fuck was that kid? Dylan Dennis. I think when I think from an audience member, or someone that was at the press conference, the dude asked him, he wants to get into content creation. What's the first step for him? Like, where should he start? And Logan said, okay, make content on whatever you want, but you have to be committed for 5 to 10 years to see even a little bit of progress. And the guy was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
But people don't understand is that at the end of the day, even when you're in school, even when you're fucking getting your degree, you're putting yourself through years of work to then get that job. It's the same shit here. You're not going through an educational process. You're not going through a system that was designed by the government.
Even the overnight superstars, all of them, I can guarantee you, all of them were doing it for years before. Take a Lacey, for example, right? Because in the Fortnite scene, that's a very relevant example. Lazy didn't blow up overnight. People saw him blow up overnight because they didn't know who he was, and then all of a sudden everyone knew who he was. But he was streaming and making content for, I don't know exactly how long, but years or at least months before that all happened. He had been doing this for a while, and then he just, all of that work, like if he had just started right when he blew up with the clicks thing, he wouldn't have had all of the experience and all of that to make that opportunity
he wouldn't
work.
have kept his numbers. He would
not have his numbers. If it weren't for me failing as a streamer for 2.5, almost 3 years, by the time that I started the podcast and the whole PL thing happened, I wouldn't have had the knowledge and experience necessary to be where I am now, and which is not ultra impressive, but I certainly wouldn't be where I'm at in my career. And that, so that's the thing. And you think about all of these people that you see that are massive. Cypher PK has been doing this for almost 10 years, probably more at this point.
No, I think it's more. I think
Ninja was part of Justin TV before Twitch was even named Twitch. He was one of the original people that was in the closed beta of Justin TV. And he didn't really start seeing numbers until H1. He was streaming a lot. So it's like all these people, it's not that they blew up overnight. That's what you see on the outside because that's when they become on your radar. But they've been doing the work for a long, long time, and they've been building the experience and the knowledge and the hard skin and all of the stuff that comes with that. You have to go through that grind of the zero to be able to take advantage of the opportunity when it comes.
Bro, the way people don't think about it is, or even the way I think about it, it's like, yo, I'm 18. Ninja's like what? Fucking 20. What is he?
27. I think he's 26, 27.
28, right?
Yeah.
He's 27, 28. I'm 18. I started content or streaming like 15, 16.
Yeah.
If he was 16 when he started doing content, he's over a decade doing this shit. And I don't think about it that way. Most people don't think about it that way.
Right.
They just think about it, oh, he's 28, he's making the money, I could do that.
Right.
Nah.
Right.
He has been putting it for 12, 11, 10, whatever the fuck, how many years to get to the point where he is now. And it didn't all come as a buildup. It all came. It might have been an overnight thing, but it took years to get that overnight thing.
You wouldn't be able to take advantage of the overnight opportunity when it presents itself if you didn't have all the prior experience. It's just like you wouldn't be able to walk into a CEO job on the first day that you're offered it and know what to do unless you've worked in that field and that industry. Even if you were a lower level, you wouldn't be ready for the CEO job if you had never worked at all. You would have to have done a job. Exactly. So it's and that's the misconception with content creation. And that's what people are trying to do is they're trying to bypass the big 9 to 5 by blowing up overnight. And what they don't realize is content creation is more of a grind. And there's less guarantee. It's actually easier to climb the corporate ladder than it is to be successful in content creation. People don't think about it like that.
The reason for that is because content doesn't have a system placed in by the government. Like it's not education.
There's no guarantee. There's absolutely no guarantee that you'll be successful in it, even if you deserve it. And that's
no support. There's rarely the chance that you have a support system is the people you meet in that community and the people that you have in your family already or like in your life. It's not the government is supporting you financially. They're supporting you with teachers. They're supporting you with professors. They're supporting you with TAs. They're supporting you with people to educate you. They have a system to educate you rather than in content. You are on your own. You choose to make the connections you make. You choose to be friends with the people you make. You choose to convince your family.
It's completely self-directed.
All on you from the age you start.
Yeah. There is no one trying to push you into it and keeping you from those valleys when you fall. And like you said, that's why it's important to build your own support system. I mean, that's where it has to come from. No, it is. Content creation is a crazy thing, and I'm realizing
it's not talked about how hard it is.
No, and I'm realizing now, like kind of like I said, I've been in this mode of PL is gone, a lot of my support system is gone, and I've had to reevaluate a lot, right, in terms of my content, in terms of my personal relationships. Like I talked about that support system. I didn't realize how many people actually cared about me until I was tweeting about that personal situation, and so many people that I wouldn't have expected to DM me or reach out did. Like there were ones that I expected, obviously, like you reach out to me, you're like, hey, yo, like what happened, like whatever. But dude, it was way more than I thought. I was like, damn, I have been neglecting these relationships where they actually like give a shit about me to some degree, obviously, if they're willing to reach out to me. And that was a big thing, and it's kind of put a pet back in my step to go, oh shit, like there are people who believe in me to do this thing, and I don't want to let them or myself down.
Yeah.
And that was
For
a
me,
big
like
thing.
checking in on like anybody,
Mm,
it's like yes, you are one of my close friends at the com, 100% speaking. But at the same time, it's also you are also my business partner. If one of us is not in
mm,
flow state, how are we supposed to continue?
mm. Yeah, yeah.
So making sure that you can either continue or you need that break. So you need me to push out or you need me to like take a
Mm,
break as well from that specific project.
yeah,
I need to know that. The constant communication is kind of key for me.
yeah,
Even as a friend, more as a friend, but still that business factor is
yeah,
still
yeah.
in it.
Right. No, but that was, and then taking inventory of my content and go, what am I doing? What am I planning? Um, and I have some plans, and I'm more confident in giving them a go and seeing if they fail. I mean, when I took a step back and looked at my career thus far, I realized I'm in year 3 or 4 of consecration, and I thought I had a lot less to show for it than I do. I have hella connections. I have, people that I can talk to, places that I can go. Like I have projects coming up. Like you can see that board in the corner there. I've got a lot of ideas flowing through my head, and I'm in a way better position to start all of them than I would have been 2 years ago. They're the same ideas. I've had a lot of the same ones for a long time. I mean, even the podcast, it wasn't until I met you that I actually executed upon it, even though I had that idea for a year or some before. Um, but I've got ideas where I'm like, oh, I can actually execute on this now. I have people in my corner. Like even I won't leak too much, but I have a business idea that I want to go through with. I want to actually start a business and pour into it. I mean, Unreal League was my first attempt at a business, and being an entrepreneur is fucking hard. I mean, that
It's
shit
hard.
was
Well,
that
I'm
shit
doing
was
that. I'm working
unbelievable.
a side business with my friend. I have to be a
Hmm.
fucking business owner.
And that,
Working like a side market is just it's fucking harder than it looks.
dude, it's like being an entrepreneur in a business was way harder than anything I've ever done in my life. And I had no clue how, like, it was so draining. It was so much work.
I'm still figuring it out. Like, bro,
Yeah.
I'm still
Oh, I
figuring out with
mean,
my thing.
Unreal League
It's like
was a failure, and maybe we'll bring it back. We're trying to, but like, we like had this unbelievable launch with like 110K impressions on our 2 minute trailer on Twitter
Mhm.
and nothing to show for it. And like, there, like, people were like, dude, like, you haven't done anything. And I'm like, dude, trust me, I was doing so much on the back end trying to make that shit work, and it never panned out.
it's shit you're
Um,
doing behind the scenes that's not shown in front. But
exactly.
it's work. It's a work to show in front. But once that
Yeah.
it kind of falls out, it's kind of like
No, yeah, and
now it's on
and
there.
that's the thing. But I've got another business idea that now that I've tried to start one, I know what to expect. I know what to be ready for. That failure has prepared me to now
Mhm.
try and be successful with this. But like, I've got people that I can go to. I'm like, damn, I might actually ask this person to invest in me. Like, I might actually. Like, I'm not just gonna like, oh, I'm gonna start this like Twitter account, because that's what people think starting a business is in the Fortnite
Mhm.
com. Like, it's not just making a Twitter and calling it a day. It's like, I'm actually going to try and get investors and make an LLC and become a legitimate business owner um, in this thing. And like, if it weren't for the failures, if it weren't for trying other shit, like I wouldn't be in that position. But if it weren't for me and everything I've done in my career to this point, I wouldn't have those connections to where I can go, hey, do you want to invest in this thing? Hey, do you want to be a
Yep.
part of this thing? And like, that's, so I realized when I took inventory, I was like, damn, I have way more to show for what I've done than I thought. Like, I'm actually at a place in my career where, yeah, people don't, I'm not a household name. I don't have millions of dollars to show for it, but I'm knocking on those doors. I'm a couple steps away. I'm one big success. I'm one blow up away from those things, and I wouldn't be if I just started content creation, now. And like that, so
Yep.
that's like, again, we kind of talked about being appreciative for what you have. I've done that more recently in a sense of my connections, my relationships, and what I've built in this industry. Even the fact that I'm almost at 1,000 Twitter followers was like, wow, that's almost 1,000
Yeah, bro.
people
I noticed that the other day,
give
bro. I was
enough
like,
of
fuck.
a shit about what I have to say to follow me on Twitter. Like, that's crazy. Like, when you actually think about it, like,
Yeah.
if you put, I think I have like 909 followers on Twitter. If you put 909 people in a room and you're talking to them, that's a major thing. Like, that's not
Yeah.
anything to be laughed at.
100%.
I 3K followers on Twitter, which is, or on Twitter, on Twitch, which is like, if you put 3,000 people in a room, that's insane. That is a lot of people. That's a whole
a lot of
keynote
fucking people.
speech at some conference in Miami. You know what I mean? Like, when you
Yeah.
start to put those things
When
into
you put those
perspective,
things into perspective, yeah.
yeah, I'm like, damn, I've actually made it. I've built that from the ground up. I built that from
Oh,
zero. There was a
1,000%.
point where I had none of those. So that like that's, always have
You
that
should always be
perspective.
grateful for it, of course.
Doesn't mean don't strive for more. Obviously, I want more because I'm not at a point where I can monetize it to a level where I can live off of it. But I'm further along than I was at the beginning, and that's what matters. And like
That's what
that's the
matters.
perspective people have to have in
That
content
progression
creation.
works. I think, yeah, I think what people, just the whole content scene in general, people don't understand is that if you're not willing to put in the time and the effort, you're not going to get the expectations. You're not going to get
Yeah.
the results
Oh,
you
for
want.
sure.
And
Yeah.
it's in anything, but in content specifically, because with
Yeah.
other things, like I was saying, like education, or when it comes to
Yeah.
these other things, you have courses online that teach you
Yeah.
how to do it. You can't search a YouTube video on how to become a successful content creator.
Yeah.
There,
Yeah.
there are people trying to do that, but
Oh,
realistically,
yeah.
that's not how you become a content creator.
And all of those videos, I mean, Ludwig made a very famous one a few years ago on like how to blow up on Twitch. And he gave a lot of very practical things, but none of them were like, if you do this, you are guaranteed to see X amount of numbers. It's like there is no
Like
singular way to guarantee.
not
There's
like
no cheat
fucking,
code,
yeah,
and
it's
that
not like study tips, bro. It's not like
exactly.
study strategies. It's not
Yeah,
like fucking all this shit. It's, if you want to blow up as a content creator, you need to show your uniqueness. You're not gonna
exactly.
find that online.
Yeah.
You're not gonna
Yeah.
find that shit online. Just
No,
figure out what's
and that's
what
the
you're special
first
about.
that's the first step of content strategy that I talk through with anyone at any level is I always
What is
ask
your
them the same
talent?
question. Yeah, is why do you think people will watch you? What do you think makes you different from other people to where somebody wants to click on your stream or video or whatever more than another person's? And honestly, people like a lot of the
They don't
creators
have
I've
an
talked
answer.
to
They don't
don't
have
have an answer for that. That's your number one. That's your number one step. Write down what the fuck makes you unique to where people will give a shit about what you have to say or the content that you're making. And I know what that is for me. And that's why I started the podcast because I'm at my best as a creator when I yap legitimately. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, people
yeah,
make fun
yeah.
of me for it, but like when I'm talking in a
People make fun
long
of you for it
form
because of the
sense,
social you do it on, bro.
yeah, I mean, for sure. But like, when I'm talking in a long form format, that is by far when I'm at my best, most intriguing, most entertaining as a creator. And that, so I'm like, okay, how do I make my content like highlight that the best? And that's the basics of content strategy. What is my niche? What are people going to watch me for over other people? What do I do the best? And really, that answer is the only thing that you guaranteed do best is be you. Now, you just have to discover like what are the key aspects of that like if I remove that, you're no longer you. That like kind of like we talked about with a game identity, what is your content identity to the place of like, what are the 3 or 4 or 5 things that if you remove them, you're no longer unique enough for people to watch you. And then you go, okay, how do I come up with content ideas on every platform that highlight that? And that's going to be a different thing. So you talk about creators more like me, that's going to be having a podcast, which is a big thing for my niche. And then your YouTube is usually going to be either in-depth videos about whatever. So like, I think one of my biggest comparisons that is at a massive scale is Moist Critical. Moist Critical, like his whole thing is just him and his opinions and how he explains things, and then his dry comedy that goes over that. So, he has his long form where he does his podcast, which is awesome.
Yep.
And then he has a short form, which is usually explaining like YouTuber or Twitch drama and then putting his own spin and opinions on it. And those are nice 10-minute chopped videos. And then he has his TikToks, which are stream
Known
clips.
for like a game or some shit. Like,
No,
that's not how
exactly.
it is.
He has his TikToks, which are clips of either the podcast or his videos that are nice niche things where it's like, oh, he explained this very well. It can be a self-contained thought that's going to make people want to click on the YouTube video or make people click on the podcast. So that's where I've started modeling myself after that is all of my content needs to highlight me and the way that I talk and the way that I view things and that,
There are certain content creators that are known for specific niches, and content creators such as XQC and Moist Critical are, and fucking what's that bit? What's his name? Tyler something.
Tyler one.
Yeah, like they're not known for specific games. They're
Right,
known for
right.
who they are,
and that's where
why
you
they
want to
pull
be.
viewers.
Exactly. I mean, it's like because you're always you. If you can get to the point where you can monetize yourself and your life, that is your success as a content creator. You don't have to put any effort into being you. All you have to do is make the content that highlights you the best.
Because let's be honest, when you see XQC at the top of your Twitch fucking thing, you're like, how the fuck does this guy have 4 times that many viewers as Ninja? You open his thing, you still don't understand. But it's because the community that he's built is people that have been around for years on end,
Yeah.
months on end, that
Yeah.
understand his personality and understand like his inside jokes and shit like that.
Yeah.
It's not because
Yeah.
he plays a game, he's certainly good at a
No,
game. Like,
absolutely
you're not gonna
not. I
go
mean,
if he's watching, he's playing Fortnite.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be like, oh, he's a Fortnite creator. No, he's not.
no, I mean, like skill at a game is a hook, essentially. It
Mhm.
like people love Tfue because of who he is. Now, what got a lot of people watching Tfue was his skill caliber in Fortnite at its peak. It can be a hook. It can be a way to get people in. But what makes people stay? You know, it's like came for X, stayed for X. It's like that's, you know, and that's what you need to be thinking about in terms of content strategy. So anyone who's listening who's like, I don't even know where to start, that's where to start. Identify what makes you you. How do you make content that highlights that the best?
And if you want to make it a full-time thing, understand that you're gonna have to put mad time into it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But the best way to think about it is that if you don't want to do school, let's say you're one of the people that just don't enjoy school, is that you're just not being given that structure and that format by a government or like by somebody, in the sense that you're being like guided a certain way. You're not choosing a field and guiding a certain way. In content creation, it's an open-end book where you're gonna keep going, you're gonna keep figuring shit out, you're adapting to trends. Like you just have to figure it out on your own rather than someone guiding you.
What I would say, and this is what I recommend to creators of any size, is kind of treat it like school in the sense of learn from everywhere. Learn from everyone around you. I look at every streamer, every creator that I see, and I'm always looking at what are they doing well? What can I, implement from what they're doing into my stuff? How can I make it mine? Everything from chat commands to titles to planned content, to just, TikToks or whatever. I'm always looking for inspiration. I'm always learning how best to optimize, and taking that knowledge from other places, because that's how you're going to grow. Is you need to be looking to grow at any opportunity, and you need to be looking for that from any source. Inspiration and knowledge can come from anywhere. Don't be closed-minded to the source of that. It's not always going to be the biggest creator. Sometimes it will be people smaller than you. I have learned things from so many small streamers where I'm like, damn, that's really good. That's a really good idea. I'm going to use that and implement it into my own content and make it mine and whatever. And I'm not saying steal content. Please don't
Don't steal content.
Yeah, don't steal content.
Just make it unique, bro.
Take inspiration and just full on ripping off are different things. I think I'm good. I don't have anything else that I really need to.
I mean, other than that, I'm fucking back from a hiatus for what God. It's
like
we were on a hiatus at the same time we were getting shit done, but at the same time it was like we weren't getting shit done together, like how your normal podcast episodes would go.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm down to do more episodes with just us in the future. Maybe we
I think it's a cool idea. Of course we're not gonna tunnel it, but of course it's like one of those.
It won't just be us from the we will still have guested episodes for sure. And that will be the focus of those episodes. But I'm down to do some of these every once in a while, and just check in.
I think it's just a good reflection on what we like, how we grow and all that shit. And even if it's not like for an audience base, it's just kind of like a reflection on us.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I think this is more for me than the audience, to be honest, to just kind of decompress and get my thoughts out. And
exactly.
And we did your episode, and I guess this is in a way kind of mine. I mean, we didn't go over my life story or anything, but it was important for me to just kind of get back in the game.
You can talk about your 4 years and how that's come up was for you and yours.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah, we can do a whole school, my career episode. Yeah, for sure. I'm super down for that.
It's a lot you guys don't know about Jatmon and Vishal. A lot you guys don't know about Jatmon and Vishal.
Yeah, I gotta, dude. I've got a story, man. I definitely I definitely think there's a lot of aspects to it that people
you told me you have
wouldn't know.
Stories.
Oh, dude. My whole life story for sure. I'm just talking about just in my like content creation or like Fortnite career. I've got a lot that people I don't think would know about, but my whole life for sure. There's a lot of stuff that and I'm very open about it, like on stream, for example. But there's a lot of stuff that I just don't it just hasn't come up. Like it's not that I'm
I mean,
afraid or
well, bro,
avoidant of talking about it, but
you better have a
um,
lot, bro. You're like what, 27 now, bro?
yeah, no, dude, 22 in March, man. That shit low key
Fuck,
is scaring
bro.
me. Yeah,
Bro,
like
turning 18 didn't even feel like turning 18 to me, bro.
I,
But it's like,
that's
fuck, I'm an adult
that's
now.
how I felt because I mean it was
Yeah,
mid COVID for me, so that was like
yeah.
I still feel 17 sometimes. Like full transparency, like I'm 21 and I still feel 17 in like specific moments where
It
I'm like
has its
shit,
pros and
like
its cons. It has
COVID,
its pros and
like
its cons.
yeah. I mean
Yeah.
that was a crazy thing, but yeah, no, I mean I'm down to do a solo episode, or well not a solo, but an episode more about me. I yap a lot about myself anyway, so like but
It would work out though.
yeah, but
But
we're also looking to do some run back episodes. I'd be really excited to do those if they go through.
yeah.
Um, I mean, I don't want to say our podcast blows people up or that we know how to find them, but like we do have some really cool examples of people who like absolutely blew the fuck up after they did an episode of our podcast. So something's happening there. Either
I'm not gonna take that credit, but
I'm just
think
saying
about it how you want. Think about
there's
how
a
you want.
correlation. I don't know if it's causation, but there's a correlation.
We've had some. Looking back at it, considering we've been doing this podcast for what, fucking 8 months now.
20
Eight- yeah, right?
episodes. Yeah, we started in February. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah. I think our announcement was. Oh, we recorded in February. Our announcement was March.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
it? Was it?
We released an episode in February, I believe. We
Okay.
started talking about it. Remember, we started talking about it in January, and then
Yeah,
we released in February. I
fucking
think.
Void was
I
around,
believe.
bro, fuck.
Yeah, dude. I talked to him a little bit.
I talked to him recently. Yeah, I see.
Yeah. He kind of emerged from the shadows. That was insane.
But yeah, I think for us it's like looking back at how many guests we've had and how like who those guests are. I'm like, fuck. Even if the episodes didn't do as well as we wanted, it's like, yo, we had like fucking
Yeah.
Monster D face on.
Yeah.
We had fucking
Yeah, SBG, who has been low key stealing our guests, but it's okay. We love SBG. Hey, all rights to him, bro.
SBG.
All power
still
to him.
always
Yeah,
love SBG.
I have no like. There's no beef there. I'm just like, damn, he low key is like outdoing us low key right now, and
we'll get our get back SBG, bro.
for sure we will, dude.
SBG, if you hear this, bro, we get our get back, bro. Don't think we out, bro. We're
we'll
back,
get
bro.
you, SBG. We're on the prowl again, man. But yeah, no, credit to him. And I mean, I'm just gracious that we had him on. He's an awesome guy.
100%. I fucking love SBG. I think any of the casters, I loved all of them.
Yeah. Oh, dude, they're probably my favorite like type of person in the scene because all of them are just so different from the creators. Like all the casters are just like the most wholesome, dude. Like, have you seen Panda's videos on Twitter recently? They're just they're awesome, man. They're so wholesome. Like he's like, and I actually think it's a really cool medium. I don't think people are taking advantage of Twitter as a content space really well, and he's just started making these videos that he's releasing on Twitter, and they're really interesting. I really like them.
Bro, I be looking at caster Lashes, bro.
I love Lash. I love Lash.
Even if it's about like other players, bro, I just love.
He's an awesome kid, man. Really, he's a treasure. He's a pure one for sure. I mean, that kid just like, I don't feel like he could ever do anything wrong. Like I
feel like there's no way he can do something like bad.
No,
like,
exactly. Like, there's no way that kid has ever gotten in trouble. Bro. Like there's just no way, right?
He seems like it, bro.
No,
I
don't know.
He's a good ass kid, bro.
No, he is. I mean, dude, every time I've talked to him, I mean, he's hit me up a couple of times, like when I'm going through some personal shit, and that brother just has like, I mean, there are just people where you're like, damn, do you just have all of life figured out? And like Lash is one of those people. I'm just like, I don't feel like you have any problems, bro. Like, no, he is. He's awesome. He's a good kid. But yeah, man, a lot to come in the future for us. It may not be weekly episodes. We're gonna try our best. But when they come out, man, and honestly, like I'm not scared of that anymore. Like I said, I've rejuvenated my attitude towards content creation, and we're gonna do it at our pace, at our vision, and if that's successful, awesome. If it's not, then maybe it wasn't meant to be. I'm okay with that. Like legitimately, I'm at a place where I'm like, I could go into a lot of things other than content creation if content creation doesn't work out. Even just in the esports scene, like I like the management side. I'd be willing to do that as a full-time like career. Yeah. Like, like I love being on camera.
My management role will play out in however Vice goes and however
Mm.
other
Yeah,
projects
yeah.
go for me.
But like,
Yeah.
yeah, I've had experience in a lot of things where I'm like, damn, I could do this and I would like it. Like,
I think podcasting for us is one of those things where it's like we don't need a management team. We just like us two,
yeah.
like we can freelance it, we can do
Oh,
what we
for
want,
sure.
and it's nice
I'd,
having it that way.
I mean, I definitely want to do more podcasts. Like, I mean, like more GhostComms episodes. Like, I want to crank them out, but I also like I'm looking to
I
start
want to be
one
involved
or
in other
two
ones.
more of my own. Yeah, and just
Mhm.
because I just it's my favorite medium by far. It like it, there's just
Well,
I was
it fits your personality well. It fits
for
your
sure.
personality
And,
specifically.
and I was thinking about it as I was watching Impulsive and all of those other podcasts. Is I was like, I just feel like it's the most real. Like I've been. Oh, I forgot to mention this. I've been listening to Ninjas a lot too. I listened
Oh,
to.
his new. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and I like I tweeted about it and he liked it, which fucking
Actually.
highlight of yeah he liked my tweet about his podcast.
Oh fuck.
I have the screenshot on my phone because I'm a nerd like that. I the only screenshots I have from Twitter are Ninja liking my tweet and Jerry and following me. Were the two massive things.
Fuck, I forgot
Um,
about Julian, bro. I have not seen
mm,
that guy in a
he's,
minute,
he's
bro.
making FIFA content now, which like
Yeah,
all
I
power to him.
heard.
But no, but anyway, like it just feels the most authentic to me, and I think that's a big thing for music creators, authenticity. And it's kind of like it's my whole thing that I've been talking about. Like I want to be authentic to who I am, and I want to make content that's authentic to who I am, and that's not the industry standard. The industry standard is inauthenticity. It's creating a character. It's doing stuff that isn't you for the sake of getting views. So and optimizing views. So podcasting, like it's so vulnerable and it's so authentic. Like even Logan Paul, I was like, damn, I'm starting to become a fan of Logan Paul because of how he like talks on his podcast. That's fucking
Yeah.
insane. And
Yeah.
just getting these and I mean, it was our whole reasoning behind GhostComms was we want to show this authentic side, the stories and the personalities of these creators that you just don't get to hear of a lot.
You don't see it in their content, or you don't see it
For
in
sure.
their TikTok,
I mean,
so
like, dude,
it's
like the
really
Bomb episode, I love Bomb. And like I got to meet him in person after, and he's a super cool dude. And like watching his content, you wouldn't think that. Like, and I had beef with him for a time. And like I'm so glad that I got over that. One, I was being a little bit of a bitch about it, I'm not gonna lie. But like I'm so glad I got over it and got to know who he actually is through the podcast and then through meeting him in real life, because he's actually one of the coolest dudes I met in the com. And like that's so true for every creator that has like had a bad rap or whatever, for the most part that I've met. Like it, when you get them in an actual conversation about themselves where they're being 100% real, like their filter is completely gone, they're for the most part really likable people and really cool people with really unique stories. And I mean that's true of every human being. I think when you get down to who they are as a human being, I mean there's a word called sonder, which is about like this idea that everyone has an equally complicated life to you. Like their life is equally as complex as yours. Like every passerby that you see, every person driving a car that goes by, like it's that realization, the consciousness of, damn, that person has had as many life experiences as me. They could be even crazier than mine. I have the weight of my life. Theirs may be more. And like that's a weird thing to
It's
like
equally
weigh.
complex because everybody has different problems and everybody has all this different
Exactly.
shit, but at
Like
the end of the
everyone
day,
has
like,
had
we
a
all have
different
these
life experience, but
problems.
we've all lived. I mean, that's the thing is
Yeah.
like we've all lived life, and that like to realize that and to be aware of it
Yeah.
and what that means, it changes how you treat human beings. It
A lot
changes
of
how you look at human
yeah,
beings. Like,
a lot of the change in your problems is based on your age and what
mm,
responsibilities you hold. So
yeah,
if you're like not of a certain age where you're not paying fucking
yeah,
bills, or you're
yeah,
not you don't have a son or daughter, like yeah, it's
yeah,
different.
yeah. No, but like, so I just I think podcasts bring out that Sonder idea. It brings out that idea that everyone has a story, everyone has something that you can learn from them or be inspired by or feel empathetic for, no matter who they are. I mean, it could be the worst people that you could ever think of, and there are examples of that. I mean, but there's still something there that makes them the human being that they are, and extracting that and putting it all out there in podcast format is just one of my favorite things as a creator to do. It's what I'm most passionate about, and that's why I just love it so much. So yeah, I definitely am looking to start a couple more. There's one that I have a really solid concept for. I haven't named it yet, but I think I'm gonna at least put one more podcast into production, and that I'm very excited about. So more from me coming soon. Vishal, obviously with Vice Fortnite, his own personal content. Whatever comes out of Vice is going to be a lot of him. So we both got a lot of stuff going on. I'm working through free agency. I've got a couple offers on the table. I think I've decided where I'm gonna go. Um, so I just I got a couple more solid things to lock down, and that announcement should be coming in the next month or so, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which is exciting. I didn't know if I was going to go back on a team, and I've been grateful to. I've had a lot more offers than I would have thought originally. A lot of them I just was like, oh, this isn't right for me, whatever. But two that really stood out to me that was like, wow, I'm really gracious to be in this position, and I'm heavily considering both of these. So I'm really excited for that, and land's coming up. Are you going to Dallas,
Yeah.
by the way? Or Dallas? Are you going to Atlanta? Do you know?
The plan I have the money to, I have the time to, I have all of it to. I just don't have the parents that are of accessible needs to do that. But that's something I'll, figure out around, hopefully speaking.
I
But
it's not looking like it for me, but you going would be a major factor in whether I push for it or not.
mm,
So we'll have to talk about
we'll
that
figure it.
more in
I
the
think
coming
Dream
time.
Hack Atlanta is the least of people's worries right now, just because of the OG season. So we'll see how that
Yeah,
plays
for
out.
sure, for sure. Oh yeah, because it's gonna be chapter 5 by the time DreamHack Atlanta comes around.
So
I'm
we'll
very
see how
happy
that
that
runs down.
they changed that to build duos. Much better format.
Oh my God, the best fucking thing they could have done.
Because I
Holy
mean,
shit.
solo zero build, the worst they could have chosen. That was so
Yeah,
bad. So I'm very
yeah.
happy that they changed it to a format that's going to be pleasing to people. Even if I don't make it to this DreamHack Atlanta, which I'd be very sad about, and like part of me wishes that I had not gone to TwitchCon, not just because of like some personal shit happened while I was there, and it was like one of the worst trips of my life. Like I just honestly, TwitchCon was kind of underwhelming. Like even if that had
Mm.
not happened, I just wasn't like it wasn't as enjoyable as the Dream Hacks have been for me. I mean, nothing tops
I think
Invitational,
I think it's
but
just because the niche you're in. You
yeah,
have
oh
way
for
more
sure.
people to
Well,
relate
yeah,
to as
DreamHack
well.
is a lot more of a Fortnite centered event, so I think a lot more like if you're a Fortnite
Yeah.
creator, it's just gonna be a like DreamHack Dallas. People still talk about as being like the best one they've ever experienced. I was talking to Hydra the other day, and like he said that like nothing has topped DreamHack Dallas, and like that was why all the hype for Atlanta existed because this past Dallas was just magical. Like I don't, all the stars aligned or something, and I mean it was zero build, so I can't imagine the
Yeah.
next build event not going well. But yeah, I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see what comes out of that. Where we go in the next coming months. Like we've both are kind of coming out of this transitional period, so I
Mm,
think we're going to see a lot of growth and new directions, and I think we may even surprise ourselves with what's on the horizon for what to come.
for sure.
Um,
There's anything you can expect in life, bro. Anything can happen.
yeah. So with that being said, let's do our traditional question for ourselves. If we were to give our audience
All right.
one piece of advice, what would it be and why?
I mean, I feel like I've answered mine. It's just be like, just stay true to yourself in whatever
Mm,
factor. That was my original one. I'm gonna stick with that.
yeah.
Okay, actually, I do have somewhat of a new one, and it's actually, it's an idea I want to get tattooed on my arm. Actually,
Mm,
um, this is just in general with life. It's not even about concentration. It's not about your job. It's not about your future. Actually, it is about
yeah.
your future. The saying "forgive, never forget."
Mm,
I think in general with friendships, relationships, people that put you down, people that bring you up, you should all in my thing. It's like forgiving isn't the hard part. It's more about forgetting
mm,
because more people, more than ever at least, will forgive someone because of what they can bring them, but actually forget what they did to them.
mm,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like for me, it's like I'm not gonna forget even if I forgive you. It's kind of in any situation.
I'm actually glad that you brought up tattoos because I backed out in Dallas. I had an
You
idea.
told me,
I was gonna
I
get
think
one
you
with
told me.
sad. Yeah, I was gonna get what's on that flag, the SpongeBob one. Um, I was gonna get that on my thigh. I think was the plan, and we got like a mile away, and I was like, it's just not right. Like I just something felt off to me. Um, but I did through that personal experience, and then all the contemplation that I've done afterwards. So that personal situation happened the Friday night while we were in Vegas. So my Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday before I went home were just miserable. I mean, I was stuck in the room. I was like totally depressed. I was just in this weird mental state. Um, I didn't think I was going to be talking about this much, but here we go. Um, but I was just like in this, like I was in my own head, right? Because that was all I could be. Like I wasn't I went to the venue maybe like a total of 3 hours the next like 2 days, you know.
Mm.
So I wasn't really doing much. And like my buddies who were there with me, shout out to Blake, like he was an awesome support throughout that whole thing. Like he was trying to pick me up, he was trying to like get me to go out and whatever. And he was like he just handled it really well. Um,
What's
but
Blake's Twitter ad again?
Blaker, like yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah,
B1AKERR. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I play with him like all the time on stream now, so you've
Mm.
probably seen him. But yeah, like I was just in my own head. I was thinking about a lot, and it was kind of the beginning of that whole like growth and introspection and like that transitional period for me.
Yeah.
But I decided like one of the things I did to cope when I got home. The first night that I got home, I could not stream. I just like couldn't will myself. I just wasn't in the right headspace at all. So I was like, shit, I don't know what to do with my time. Like, I finished all my homework for the week. Like, I have nothing to do. And, like, that was a bad thing in that moment because, like,
Love
I
working,
think
bro.
a lot. So, like, you know, I'm like, I'm going to be
Yeah,
thinking too much. Like, this is going to be, like, I'm not in the headspace for the thinking to
100%.
be productive. So, I resorted back to an old classic. I started watching the old Spider-Man movies.
Mm.
Tobey Maguire's and Andrew Garfield's. I watched all of them. Except for Spider-Man 3, the original one, because like I just don't like it. Like I know that's like controversial. I just don't like Spider-Man 3.
Probably controversial to Spider-Man fanatics, but
Oh,
not
I
for me.
like I
Yeah.
love Tobey Maguire's Spider-Mans. They were unbelievably impactful to me growing up, but specifically 3, it's so jam-packed with villains and storylines. They just try to do way too much with it, and I hate the whole like Peter, like you know that like the meme of like him when he's like a bad
Oh
boy,
yeah,
and it's like
yeah.
it just is all like goofy to me, and it just like kind of it doesn't fit into the rest of the franchise for me, so I just didn't watch it. But anyway, I'm not here to give my movie takes so much as I watched 1 and 2 of Toby's, and I grew up on Toby's. Like I've watched that original Spider-Man with Green Goblin probably 50 times. Um,
Yeah, sounds about right.
yeah, and like you know, it's just really impactful for me. Willem Dafoe gives an Oscar-worthy performance, in my opinion, as the Green Goblin, and he's just a fantastic villain. I think he outperformed Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. I'm not gonna lie,
Mm.
but the one that really stuck out to me was Spider-Man 2, and the whole storyline with Doc Ock and all of that, and Peter's journey as he decides that he has to be Spider-Man no matter what it costs him personally.
Right.
You know, and that Peter goes through this constant process of losing people and sacrificing relationships for the sake of being Spider-Man because he has a responsibility to be. And that really stuck with me, obviously, because I was going through the process of losing a really important relationship and a really important person in my life. Um, like I was thinking about, damn, like this is my moment to choose to be Spider-Man. This is my moment to like, I can either back down from this and be weaker and let this affect me, or I can choose to be Spider-Man and have great power and therefore great responsibility and continue with what I'm doing because I believe in it, because I believe it's what I'm supposed to do with myself. So I've decided now that my first tattoo is going to be the Spider-Man 2, specifically this on the suit of Spider-Man 2 logo right on my forearm, because I want to do the same concept of like, I want something on my forearm to constantly remind me of how I want to live my life. And I went through philosophical quotes, I went through Bible verses, and none of them ever felt right. And I thought, damn, that logo, what that means to me, with great power comes great responsibility. And Spider-Man as a character, the fact that he continuously puts up with heartache and loss and grief and he continues to choose to do the right thing despite all of those things. And like Foxman and I have had a lot of conversations about the importance of Spider-Man as a character to us and who we are as people. So yeah, I've decided that that's going to be my first tattoo design. I'm saving up for it right now.
Yo,
But yeah, I'm
that's
glad you
about.
brought tattoos up because I think that's a cool. I think it's a really cool
Tattoos
way to summarize.
are it's one of those things where it's like you can't go back on your decision of making it, but if you do make the right decision, it brings too much. It brings so much significance to
Yeah.
life.
No, I mean it when I like thought of it, I was like, oh, that's perfect. That's the thing, because
Yeah.
Spider-Man will never change, and the impact he's had on my life will never change. I mean that
Yeah.
character is who he is, and that and, like he was made for this. He was made to inspire people in a specific way, and that was so that was a big thing for me. So I'm going through that, and Hopefully I'm gonna get that soon. My brother got a tattoo too, so that like really pushed me. Like I was like, damn, that looks sick. I really want one. I've wanted one for years, and I was always that like perfectionist. I'm like, I can't. What if I find something better? Like whatever. So I'm gonna pull the trigger, and do it. So hopefully you'll see that soon. Yeah, man. My
Super good,
getting
man.
to my advice, I guess. I've given
Yeah.
a lot, obviously, but I mean, what you said, I second very heavily. Obviously, authenticity, staying true to who you are, is not just a content creation trick. It is how you should live life. You should be authentic to who you are in everything that you do, every interaction that you have, how you interact with people and life and problems and whatnot. Um,
Hmm.
be true and authentic to who you are, um, and just realize that uh, what you are capable of and what you can do is only limited by what you believe you can and can't do. Um, if you
Very,
genuinely
very true.
believe that you can do something, and you put in the work to do it, um, it's not a guarantee, but you are maximizing your chances. And I think for most people, that's usually going to turn out positive. If you really
In
give
life, nothing's a
everything that you,
guarantee, though. So that's
yeah,
a
no, for sure. But if you give everything that you have to something that you believe in, at least right? At least you gave it the shot and you know whether or not it would have worked out. I think one of the biggest mistakes that you can make in life is not pursuing that thing that you want to and always imagining what if I had, what if I had given it my all. um, I would rather live a life of failure knowing that I tried than a life of failure to try. And that's,
yeah.
that is going
That's
to
a good one.
conclude this episode of GhostComms, our episode 21, I think. Starting
Yeah.
a new batch. We'll have more guests for you in the future. I'm excited to get back into this. This was a big thing for me. So yeah, more to come in the future. Make sure you like and subscribe. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. Comment GOAT down below if you actually made it this far, because like damn, we
We would love to
yapped
know that. We
and
yap a
yammered
lot.
for two and a
That's
half
what makes this
hours. So
podcast unique.
yep, that's hey, we're doing it our way, and that's it.
That's what matters.
But yeah, go ahead and like and subscribe and share this if you want other people to hear it, and we'll see you all in the next one. Peace.
Later.